Names for Tombstones, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Millionth podcast. I'm your host, James, joined as always by my co-host Henry, and for the Bond series, special guest Tom. Today, Henry VIII Bond film, Live and Let Die. I'm really looking forward to this because now we enter a stretch of like good Bond films. I think the
This is
next
like a
5 or
new
6
era as
are
well.
all good. You know,
Well,
like the last few weeks it's been hit and miss. It's been some high highs and some low lows, but now we're getting into like a solid run of like Roger Moore Bond films, which I've been really looking forward to.
yeah, I think you could say that, but like as well, I think we only really had like Diamonds Are Forever and like Thunderball that we didn't like. I mean,
And Casino Royale.
I feel a bit peaked because
what do you mean? It's a good film. I love Mads
a bit
Mikkelsen.
harsh on.
We're talking
Now,
about
from
the
what I remember, Henry, I mean, jumping to our like relationships with Live and Let Die.
yeah, so,
Was this,
yeah,
this has always been sort of one of your favorites, right?
yeah. I was gonna say I would have normally would have put this in like my top 10 Bond films at least. I think this was a. I mean, I used to think it was a very solid film. When I was rewatching it, and I was like, "This is as good as I thought it was." But then I think it like because it does go a bit slow at the start, but then it picks up a bit more when you actually meet Mr. Big, which I quite like. So
That's
well, the
that's
second
always
meeting of it.
been that's always been my issue with this film. The pacing is all over the place, all over the place. For me, like the very beginning, the pre-credits are like super weird, and then the beginning's quite good when you meet Roger Moore and he's doing his thing, and then the middle just sags like really hard. Apart from the odd action sequence, and then the end really picks up really quick. The film's over like that. So, but this is definitely like one of the better Bond films for sure. It's a strong start for Roger Moore. It's like that transition period as well, because this is quite a dark Bond film. This has like a lot of like basically like you could take a lot of clips from this and it could pass as a horror film more or less. So that's quite strange, but then as well you have like the light-hearted sort of Roger Moore moments as well. So
Yeah, exactly as well. Like he's like just like flying off like one-liners like there's no tomorrow, man. Like not that he's not that it ever gets like too much because like with Roger Moore he can just pull it off really.
Yeah,
he could probably like make people laugh at a funeral, yeah.
With this film, like you actually, it's interesting facts. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this film and Temple of Doom were basically the reasons why the age rating, the 12 age rating was created. So like, it wasn't like
it was a supposed thing.
It wasn't quite enough to like get 15, but like it wasn't really for general viewing, which makes me wonder like, but this film is like PG on the box set. But anyway, yeah, this film has I've always loved this film, and that's never really changed. Um, it's like I think it's in my top 5 personally, but yeah, I do love it that much, and really, it's just pure entertainment from start to finish for me. There's like good jokes, great action, good villains. There's a great Bongo who's one of my favorites, and yeah, and of course, it's like one of Roger Moore's better films, I think. So yeah, I really can't find any major faults in it from my end. Like it's like a really all round Bond film. Like there's nothing glaring about it that's like weakness.
Do you not feel that the pacing suffers a little bit?
Not really. Like I when the middle period, I tried saying like, what middle period? Like when he goes to the farm and stuff, because that was all really interesting for
No,
me.
basically between the when you meet after you meet Bond and between him actually meeting Mr. Big slash Dr. Kananga.
And that's over pretty quickly for me, to be honest. Like he just, and one thing I really
in
like,
particular, the bits with sort of Rosie Carver and all that sort of thing, that bit really drags for me.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But to be
That's
fair,
really
worth
that's
see
just
Quarrel Jr.
that's just I don't know, comedy, and we'll get into that later. But this film, like, yeah. Oh, by the way, the intro for this film, I think.
We'll get there. We'll get there in a moment. But before we do, obviously, we have a new Bond, and I think we should spend a little bit of time talking about Roger Moore because
Mm.
for me, it's tough. You know, my favorite Bond has just always been a toss-up between Roger Moore and Daniel Craig. And any given day you find me, I'll give you a different answer to my favorite Bond. It's always one of those two. But Henry, I assume you've come into this with a bit of trivia. Can you give us a bit, or okay, or Tom as well? Can you give us a bit of background? I know Roger Moore was. Roger Moore didn't have like. Well, Roger Moore was kind of like. He had the Saint. He was the Saint, right? And that was
Yeah.
like his big thing. That's
That was
what
amazing.
basically auditioned him for Bond, basically. And I've watched one episode of the Saint, but other than the Saint and Bond, I don't know. I've never sort of seen him in anything else. So he's a bit of an enigma for me outside of. I mean, he is James Bond for me, but outside that, you know, you have Sean Connery or Pierce Brosnan or even Timothy Dalton or basically every other Bond but George Lazenby. You've seen them in something else. You have some kind of gauge for them. Whereas Roger Moore Roger Moore is James Bond in that sense for me. But yeah, and I know he was like the oldest Bond to start in his role and stuff. I mean, and he's very different to Sean Connery. He's completely different. So like, if you like, you got some context, some trivia and stuff. Like, what was
He
the
was
reception
also
for him at
in.
the time as well?
Well, he was also in The Persuaders. I mean, I don't know if that means much to you, but yeah, typically he was in more, I think, series rather than films, to my knowledge. But I don't really know too much about Roger Moore himself. I mean, most people know like his age, like more so into the later films, especially his last ones, which I don't think is as big of a deal as people kind of make it out to be because.
The
I think
thing
there's
is,
some.
Roger Moore looks in this film. He looks really young. Like I
Yeah,
was
he
kind of
does.
surprised. I was like, damn. Like there's a bit where he's shaving. He looks like he's in his 20s.
Yeah, he
Um,
really does.
I just don't think he aged. He aged quickly. I think I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't know
know
what
how
happened.
to like put that
I think it
nicely,
was.
but yeah,
Yeah,
he
we'll
starts
have to get
aging.
to it.
His aging accelerates very quickly after like The Spy Love Me.
Yeah.
Um, well, it'd be interesting. Like he was one of. I think he was for a TV series actor. By the time he started playing James Bond, or by the time he was recruited for it, he was the highest paid actor, like for a TV series in England, or maybe even the world. I'm not sure. Like, but he was really good, and he was really like, yeah, he became really famous because of that, like Henry said. But fun fact, that's just how much. That's yeah, he was number one because of that already. So I always found that quite. And he played James Bond technically once before, like the character in some like I don't know some really old comedy skit, um, and then he was told he had to lose weight for this role, which fair enough. And then he became James Bond. So one thing, yeah, I'm really my favorite film is in this era of Roger Moore. So yeah, and this is one of them. Like great, Live and Let
So
Die.
Live and Let Die is your favorite? Oh no, it's not. It's your second
It's
favorite,
one
I
of
guess.
no, it's no.
Hmm.
It's like maybe for me fourth or fifth, maybe, but I have a few others. Are like I- I'll list them eventually, but like yeah, they're this is right up there for me.
It's funny. I'm
This
probably
goes.
coming into this with like the lowest opinion of the three of us of Live and Let Die. I didn't expect you to rate it that highly, Henry. I've always known you. For me, this is like an upper mid sort of Bond film. You know, um, what I really enjoy about this film. I mean, we'll focus a bit more on Roger Moore later, but I do want to shout out Yaphet Kotto, man.
Yeah, for real.
He's such a great actor. I love him in everything I've seen. I've seen him in this. He's in Alien, obviously Henry.
Hmm.
He plays Parker in Alien, where he's such a cool character, and he's in The Running Man as well. Did you see Running Man? Or
No,
I don't know. He's
unfortunately.
great in that. That's with Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's like sci-fi. People got to check that out. But like for the 70s and the 80s, Yaphet Kotto, he's a super interesting actor, and he's also like he did a lot for because obviously with this Bond film as well, it dances with so many different elements that come into effect with this because what they had to do, they had to be quite careful because obviously the theme of this it could have.
Could have gone
Even I have
very-
to kind of watch how I'm putting this, but like basically like there was a very would have been very easy to do something like sort of accidentally racist with this film. They were like they had to be cautious with like racial sort of things going on there, and I think they
Yeah, it
did a
wasn't necessarily the
fantastic
most
job of that.
accurate.
And Yaphet
It
Kotto
wasn't
was a bit
necessarily
of
the most accurate portrayal of Harlem, but
sorry.
it wasn't necessarily the most accurate portrayal of Harlem in New York, but still.
Well, no. Well,
This
actually, we'll get to
film,
that later. I have
I
something
mean,
interesting to say
I
about
think
that.
for the
But
purposes of
for
adapting
Yaphet
the book,
Kotto, he's an actor that sort of was one of those like pioneering black actors who like broke stereotypes and sort of broke through a glass ceiling. He's got to be praised for that. I think he's like sort of he's one of those sort of breakthrough actors, like sort of African American that managed to like get away from stereotypes and have these like really interesting well acted roles, which I think I mean, and this is a great example of it. The problem with his character, and now we're going to get into spoilers, is like he's probably mostly remembered in this film for his like ludicrous death. But putting
yeah,
that aside, he's fantastic, and
he really is.
I
Yeah.
forgot how good he is. He's actually one of the best of Bond villains, I reckon. I mean, I don't know how that will reflect in our rankings at the end, but you know,
do you know, like this film was like the thing with him is like I mentioned it in on the Majesty's Secret Service, like he had an interview, and he was like asking like, "Oh, so what choices are going into your acting?" Blah blah blah, and like he was like, "Oh, I really want to be more cool than James Bond." Blah blah blah. You know, at this point, like the villain's gonna die, so or he's gonna lose against Bonds, but so you've got to have your moment basically, and I think he really does that in this film, and this like um yeah, he's really great. And this film is like really actually generally really good for breakout actors because you've got Roger Moore who I mean he's not really breakout at this point but still
You got
in
the
terms of
Felix
James,
Leiter who returns.
and you got Jane Seymour who was actually being introduced into this film, so bunch of like basically new actors showing up, and yeah, I think it does a really good
and
job with it.
that's the great thing about Bond. I think Bond has always this has always been quite a strength of Bond films. They're good at bringing through, and in all eras, in all decades, really, they're good at bringing through lots of new faces. But then they have the old guard there as well. So you've still got Moneypenny, you've still got M, you know, and you've got that kind of framework which allows sort of new faces to sort of seamlessly come through, which I think is great. Um, you know, I'm thinking about Roger Moore because obviously we're in a time now the Daniel Craig era is over, and there's all sorts of rumors about who could be the next Bond. Perhaps we'll do a little episode
Yeah, we
discussing
need
who we'd
lots.
like to see. One of the front runners is one of the names that comes up a lot is Cillian Murphy, who obviously and he's a seasoned film actor, but
And
obviously he's most
series.
famous for sorry.
And in series.
Well, this is what I was going to say. He's most famous for playing Tommy Shelby in Peaky Blinders, right? So and I mean, I know you two haven't seen it. I have, and it does feel like at moments there's like I can't put myself in the 70s obviously around the time Roger Moore was hired to be Bond, but I can imagine it might have been similar to how Cillian Murphy is. Say Cillian Murphy became Bond now, um, I feel like it'd be that kind of similar thing. Like people know, like almost like Peaky Blinders' is audition. Like The Saint was effectively the audition for Bond. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you don't know what I mean because you haven't seen it, but maybe you know where I'm coming with that.
Yeah.
It's funny as well because with Roger Moore, he's like such a contrast to Sean Connery, where Sean
Yeah.
Connery's like he's very I mean, physically, I'm talking now. Sean Connery's very masculine. He's hairy, you know. He's like, you know, quite like well built, toned, tall, everything. And Roger Moore's like he's not that masculine. Like he's got a very like masculine voice. I think his voice is amazing, and but he doesn't look particularly I don't know.
Imposing.
You know what I'm coming from? Like his eyes are
Yeah.
completely his face, like everything about like Sean Connery's like a darker look. He's got dark hair, dark features. Roger Moore, like you know, obviously he's got lighter hair, and I don't know. Like he's just a very very different package. And it's not surprising that like Bond fans are so divisive over like you know Sean Connery, Roger Moore, Daniel Craig, whoever, because like they're so different. You know, it's like quite diverse in that sense. unfortunately passed away, of course, a few years ago. That was
Yeah.
I think he passed away the same year as Adam West. And like of all celebrity deaths, I think those are two that really hit me the hardest. Adam West and Roger Moore. Like obviously we've reviewed Batman 66 and like the like I don't know, it's just that was sad. He's a legend, part of my childhood, both of them. But okay, so here we go. So Roger Moore, he said he would like to play a villain in a Bond movie starring Daniel Craig, but accepted that it would never happen.
Hmm.
So
Could not
yeah,
imagine him being a villain. So.
Oh yes, something about this film which is quite interesting is it was actually the first one that James Bond that Daniel Craig saw, and he had like
really.
this interesting, yeah, he had this interesting comment on on part of the film which I'll bring up later, but and yeah, was gonna say something else but I forgot, so continue.
I've got some trivia here. This I love this one because you notice he likes his cigars, right?
Yeah, he certainly
His
does.
contract for 007 films provided him with an unlimited supply of Monte Cristo cigars during filming. The bill for this typically ran to thousands of pounds. So I think that's a good one. Um, he's
Interesting.
as
Yeah,
I think you touched on before, Tom. He's good friends with Lois Maxwell. They came
yeah,
through the same like school basically, so that's cool.
he was
Um,
friends with basically everyone on set.
a bit of a
Yeah, apart
retcon
from
here because someone I can't remember who it was said that every Bond actor like signed a contract for 7 films. Not the case. According to this,
And
Roger Moore and his agent accepted each Bond movie on a film-to-film basis instead of signing on for several.
I think he
not
was
a bad idea,
whatever.
actually.
Like, yeah. By the way, like Roger Moore once said, this is the last bit of trivia I can remember for him. Like he once said that he envied the villains mostly, like in these James Bond films, because he said that they always got the best lines, basically. So that might link to what he wants to do with Daniel Craig.
So we open up, and now this opening, these pre-credits really like
They're very
confused
different.
me as a child when I was watching this film. To be honest,
Yeah,
I'm like
same.
really like, what is going on? This is like a really strange, scary film, man. So first of all, you have like a world leaders congregation,
Yeah,
sort of
the
standing.
United World Building.
Yeah,
To be fair, like
and
that UN is better than like the Batman 66
Yeah.
one.
well, yeah, but
It's more
Batman is like an
believable.
obvious comedy parody. This is like this is serious because a guy gets killed there, the UK
Yeah,
rep.
Like
death
ear
by
rape.
ear rape.
But his death
Yeah.
is weird. Like, is it possible to die of like?
I think,
It
yeah, it
is.
is possible, but
It
it has
is
to be
possible.
really, really loud. Like, you can
Yeah.
destroy your eardrums and basically, yeah.
Gets your brain.
I
That's what
I never thought, I never understood how that works. But okay, well. Then we have a. This is in New Orleans, I believe. There's like a funeral procession.
I think that's meant to be
Uh,
in Harlem.
I'm not.
is it in Harlem? I thought it was in New Orleans. Okay.
I think.
Well,
I don't know,
and
'cause
No, no,
there
no,
are
no.
multiple Filet of
It's
Souls,
in.
like, so,
It's in New Orleans. I know because he's like Hamilton in New Orleans when he's listing people that have been killed.
yeah.
So,
yeah,
um,
Henry.
Well,
So
but there's a Filet of Soul restaurant also in Harlem, so,
yeah, well,
might
what it's a chain, obviously. So
yeah.
anyway, so you have
that's
this, I keep wanting to say Strangways. The guy gets killed, like the British agent.
Yeah, the
Um,
chap there with the snake.
yeah, yeah. He's like now, like
Uh,
I don't know. I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about this whole funeral thing because it's always been like it's probably the most elaborate assassination I've ever seen and
in
makes
this
no
film.
sense.
In this film, there are so many elaborate assassinations. Like no one just gets shot. Really, like it's just like there's like a crocodile alligator farm someone gets sent to. It's like then there's this weird funeral thing. Then there's being tied to a stake and having a snake bite you. And then like, even at the end, Kanaga won't just stab him. He just like cuts him a little bit and then dangles him over like nothing's
Yeah, but
direct.
that's like the Bond villain classic. You always got to give him
Yeah,
some
but
like ridiculous
I
death.
think, and even like Dr. Kananga dies in like a really ridiculous way. Like everything, there's nothing like direct in this. It's like I think this film maybe like even more than all the other Bourne films has like all these. I don't know, all these weird over the top deaths which are like basically spectacle. And this intro, by the way, like is first and maybe even only so far to not have James Bond in it at all. So I always
Hmm.
found that a bit interesting. I think it's
Yeah,
just trying to, yeah.
It must have been particularly weird for people that were going to the cinema at the time, looking forward to seeing
Yeah,
Roger Moore, and they're like,
you know.
yeah, but yeah, I just found this whole funeral because like there's a whole funeral going on with like the band, the trumpets, and everything, and then they like lower the coffin over this guy, and then they're like all dancing and stuff. I just never understood that's just strange. Like there's
I
no.
assume it's meant to be like kind of because this guy's like an agent in the street. There's no real easy way they can just kill him and dispose of the body, right?
Yeah, but you got like dozens of witnesses and everything. I don't know.
I
It's strange.
I assume this is meant to be they're all in on it, like because
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is like
Mr.
you've got
Big
the.
has
I
his
mean,
hands
fair enough. Maybe it is
in
like
it
the whole
all.
city's under their grip, but that is pretty
Yeah, that would imply a lot of
extravagant.
things. Yeah.
It's like
Then you
it
have
really.
you have then we cut to that island San Monique.
San
I believe it's
Monique,
called.
yeah.
Yep.
The
And
fictional island of San Monique.
Yeah.
sorry.
Islands in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Yeah, the island in the Caribbean, which is definitely there.
And
This is not a real country.
and another guy gets killed like in this like freaky like voodoo ceremony. Man, he gets killed by a snake. Snake bite. So that's cool. And then we get to the music. Now, this is like one of Live and Let Die. This is one of the I think one of the classic, like obviously
Yeah,
performed
and
by
this is one that you can have by name that most people will know.
yeah.
Yeah,
This
it
is
has
performed
like
obviously by Sir Paul McCartney and the
it has
Wings.
like it has like a life of its own outside the James Bond series,
Yeah.
and I really think so as well. It's like it's probably my favorite James Bond like song, like just for me personally. I know it's generic, but lots of people agree, and I think it's
That's
for
for a
good
good
reason.
reason. So.
Yeah,
So yeah, the only thing, I mean, we'll rank them later. I think the theme song is great. I just want to comment on the music in general, like because the music's really good in this film, but it's not used often enough. There's so many moments in this
Yeah.
film, and I think this is where this is why the pacing suffers a bit because the music is used very sparingly, and I don't know why because it's so good.
Yeah.
And
I don't think it's used
yeah,
sparingly. Like,
Yeah,
what
but
do you mean?
I
Like,
noticed, I
really
really
sparingly. There's
noticed
so
that there
many
are a lot of
silent
scenes where
scenes
there's
in
no
this film.
music.
Yeah,
not
But it's
really.
like
When
it's not for any effect either. It's just like
yeah.
silent for some
You have
reason.
Bond driving. Okay, so all the action sequences, the bus chase, until the very end is silent,
There's no
and so
music,
is the
yeah.
boat chase. The silence is actually deafening when you're watching it. It's like, when's the music coming?
Yeah,
the
exactly.
music, like, the music is there when he's going to New York. It's there when he's getting tailed. It's there when he's like on that alligator farm. It's
I'm
there
not
when
saying it's not there. It's just
yeah,
it's not
It's
there.
there.
There are like really obvious moments where it's like silent. I think in the plane as well when he's
it's
in the
never been
plane
obvious for me.
with Mrs. Bell. Anyway, so
Mm.
then
I
we
really
do
like the
actually get
music,
to meet. We do get to meet Bond. He's in bed with this Italian agent,
Yeah.
and he goes and answers the. It's like at the crack of dawn as well, right?
Yeah,
He gets
literally,
to ring
like
at the.
3 a.m.
yeah. Yeah, it's like you're not married, are you? You know.
Yeah. He answers the door, and it's M, which is like Bond obviously shits himself a bit. So
Yeah, literally.
Imagine having your boss show up at your house at like 3 a.m. just there at the door. Yeah, it
yeah.
wouldn't.
It wasn't
Any
quite 3 a.m. It was like 5 or 6 a.m. It was like there was daylight outside, but like the daylight you see either if you're a farmer or you're like you've been like up all night drinking and you're like on your way staggering home and you're hearing the birds tweet, man. Like yeah.
It's a monk.
But yeah, so Bond answers the door to M, who he offers a coffee, of course. Which is like quite a funny line where he's it's like this really elaborate sort of coffee machine, and then
Yeah.
after he's done, he's like, "Is that all it does?" Good line. You have as well Moneypenny shows up, and while all
Yeah.
this is happening, the Italian agent is like like undressed, running for like cover. M's like, "Oh, and this Italian agent's disappeared. Oh, you don't know what could have happened to her, do you, Bond?" Moneypenny sort of hides her.
Yeah.
He gives. Oh yeah, this is also the first. No, the only. Well, this is the only Bond film since From Russia with Love without Q in it. Which you feel. I feel his absence a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
he is
what
mentioned
I
by
thought.
name. It's a
But
shame
the
he's
thing
not
is
in.
that his god, he's very much like like very present in this film through his gadgets, which proved to be very
Mm.
Yeah.
useful. So especially the watch. So yeah,
I think this is one of my favorite like gadgets of any
Me-
Bond film. Like
me
this
too.
watch is like a proper Bond watch, you know.
Yeah, at least this watch is like, it's not like, I'm not like, insulting the laser watch, but this is like a very powerful magnet and being able to be a buzzsaw at the same time. I think that's like semi-realistic. Like you could probably make that today. Maybe not to get a spoon from across the room, but don't know.
Yeah,
That's
or
brilliant,
or
man.
Or a
or a
Him
bullet
gets
from like
so
10
offended
meters.
by that, man. He's like basically
Yeah.
threatens to kill Bond because he like
Yeah, he's
took a
like, oh,
spoon.
well, Q said, this can deflect a bullet from long range, even it's that powerful. And he's like, I'm very tempted to test that theory right now.
Like the disrespect with like when a man's teaspoon is removed from his person, man. That's like
Yeah, exactly.
don't take no shit, man. Um. So yeah, he has a little bit with Moneypenny, and I mean, what I like in a Bond gadget is when it's used many times, and in the space of like 2 minutes of Bond actually receiving it, he uses it for the spoon, and then he uses it to unzip the Italian agent's dress, which is like quite funny. I think it's like
Yeah.
it's a good one.
Shit, Magnus is
Sheer magnets, that's right. So then we get Bond. Bond arrives in New York. He's as predicted by Solitaire, who's like reading out tarot cards. Oh, he comes, he brings danger. Like really bad
Yeah,
effects.
really weird. Like, I mean, that's where you get like the first kind of like, I don't know. This feels a bit different when it comes to things like that. So, um, I don't know. That always weirded me out as a child. It's like, oh, he's on a plane. There's someone's just laying cards down. It's like, oh, he's doing this, and it's like, oh wow, what's all this then? And then obviously, oh yeah, on the back of the cards there's like 007 as well, which I always thought was pretty cool. But
Huh.
if you looked, yeah, it kind
It's
of
funny as well how
breaks
tarot
fourth
cards have
wall a bit.
like tarot cards are. I guess they're still. It's one of those things. I mean, you see on TikTok now and stuff like tarot cards are still very, not very popular, but they're still like present and stuff. This isn't something that's like been left behind in the past. There's something that's still like goes on and is used. So that's interesting. Um, so Bond arrives in New York in a taxi. He calls Felix to let him know he's on his way. Felix Leiter, of course,
Yeah.
as he's driving along, Whisper pulls up next to him, does a bit of a drive-by, on the taxi driver.
Yeah, literally.
And
How do you get
very
the aiming
silent
for that?
assassination whisper. So
And yeah,
Yeah.
James Bond doesn't see any at all. Like the guy's completely upright, and then he just kind of slumps over in the driver's seat, and it's just
not like you're
chase.
watching
This
a driver.
no. This chase was like really always almost always been very weird for me because these two, like the driver and the Whisper, at that point, they look like two people I knew, and you two know as well. So yeah, it's been a bit. I don't know. I've never not noticed that for some reason, but I don't know. It for me personally, that just kind of takes away from it a bit because it's like, oh yeah, it's this person, and it's like, but it's not. And the car chase that happens. Also, something else I always noticed. Well, I noticed more recently is like when he like it goes out of control and Roger like James Bond is trying to like control it, and you see it from the front. It's like swerving around. Why does like every car look like it's the same on that thing? Like I don't
It's
know.
just 70s New York, man. I
I don't know.
Yeah,
mean,
I'm a big fan
But
of Chevrolets.
they're like the same but with different colors, and that's it. And then yeah,
I don't know,
I don't
maybe
know.
they got to
It's a
do
bit of
like
yeah. Well, anyway,
I think
so
this is a good
basically,
chase, I think.
Bond gets himself out of it eventually. He goes and
Yeah, like he has
yeah,
to
and
ring up
like
Felix like, I'm in a spot
yeah.
of trouble, you spot of bother, really.
Spot of bother, yeah. I like his Leiter. Obviously, we're going to rank the Bond allies later, and this Felix Leiter is probably the best Felix Leiter we get until Jeffrey Wright, I would say.
Yeah,
Um,
because he's actually like, I think this is a lighter you can actually call like competent, really, or
it's
who
weird
does.
actually, though, because he doesn't really do anything. He's just he doesn't do it. He's like he doesn't actually do anything. He's just there a lot. You know what I mean?
He's just there to clear up after Bond, just be like,
Pretty much,
yeah,
yeah. Just
I know, he
take
just
abuse from
destroyed me.
the school, the plane school
Yeah,
and stuff.
literally.
Oh yeah,
It's like the first of many times he has to cover up for Bond.
And
Yeah.
while all this is happening, we sort of briefly meet Kananga, Doctor Kananga, of course.
This is a great scene, by the way. Like, because he like I don't know. I never got this until it was pointed out, basically. But when he gets out to like into this little embassy or whatever thing he has, like, and he's just chilling there and starts speaking. It's really funny how like the CIA is bugging him, and then he's like one step ahead, so he, like has this little recording put on, and then like just I don't know, just he's just outwitting the Americans getting shown up once again, which is quite funny. And like it's I don't know, it's just amusing, like for me. And that the bits of comedy and the bits of like stuff being revealed in this early part kind of helped me with the pacing, which I never really felt was an issue. Like you two mentioning it was the first time I've heard anybody say this film has pacing issues. But yeah, and with this film, like there's so many goons. Like you see like Teehee, and you see have like Whisper already, and you have like a bunch of people around, like the shop owner who you see. Oh yeah, and fun fact about Teehee, I think he's really great as a henchman and everything. And he's
He
got his
really
little.
did.
But did you know in like A-level sociology, we were studying we were studying like mass media, and we were looking at different groups of people who who like get discriminated against, and he got brought up as an example of like how disabled people are portrayed negatively in the mass media. And I was like, him and Blofeld. I was like, and then I was like, but Blofeld, well, he's in like supposedly in a wheelchair once, and but I don't know, just Tiki being mentioned in that context was, I don't know, it was too, I don't know, it's just, I couldn't take it
Wow.
seriously. It was like, okay.
Yeah. So
Next,
Kananga gives that taped speech. Yeah, Bond goes and checks out some shop, which he sort of follows Whisper into this shop. Asks to get a snake gift wrapped vertically, lengthwise. Sorry.
Lengthwise, yeah.
And by the way, I just want to comment upon Bond's like assassin drip. He's like got the black double-breasted overcoat. He's got like the black leather gloves, man. He's like,
genuinely.
it's sick, isn't it?
Everyone in this film is like pretty well dressed, actually.
Yeah,
Like,
the drip in
the
this film is
outfits and the
unreal.
costumes in this film are incredible, man.
they're-
Incredible.
it's right out there with Honor Majesty's Secret Service, in my opinion. That's like those two are like the best so far for that, I think.
Best
Easily.
faction films.
I guess.
Then you've got so as he's doing that, he eventually runs into he gets in a taxi with like the guy with like the maddest sideburns ever, man. I don't know what it was about the 70s, because in Diamonds Are Forever we had that sideburns henchman, and then we have this guy as well.
Everyone had sideburns, man. This
makes
guy
a great
this guy's sideburns to end all sideburns, man. Like,
yeah.
Like,
Like
it's
the way
like-
he fits
like-
his face with like his
they've nearly
afro and his
beaten him to
teeth
the-
and everything, yeah. And,
He's like
he
he's such a great extra part though. He like has all his like
he's great. He's
his
so
jokes
memorable.
and stuff.
He's like
Yeah.
he can literally he's driving you to your funeral, you don't mind because he's like just a happy guy,
Yeah, he's like, oh, for $20, I'll drive you to a Ku Klux Klan meeting. Like, damn, son, fair play. So Bond's doing that. He goes inside what restaurant was it called? I keep forgetting.
Fillet of soul.
Fillet of soul.
Fillet of soul, yeah, fillet of fish. And he goes and sits at a booth which like revolves, obviously. Always quite funny.
Obviously.
At this moment, he meets Solitaire, then Teehee, and then Mr. Big. Like, there's a bit of a hat trick here. So obviously, he meets Solitaire. Now, it's interesting what you said there, Tom, about her being like one of the best Bond girls. I really strongly disagree. What do you think, Henry?
Really?
Yeah, I think
I
she's
don't really
terrible.
feel very strongly about her in general. Like, she doesn't really do much in the film, if I'm being honest.
I think the acting is like quite poor as well. Like, I'm not sold. You can tell it's like her debut sort of thing, because like didn't really convince me. And like I say, didn't really do anything. She was just like a typical sort of bimbo damsel in distress.
She's not really a
Bond
bimbo.
girl. I mean,
like,
she's fit, but
I
that's
wouldn't
it.
say she's a bimbo. She's just a damsel in distress that's around
she
most of
has
the film.
like she has like her own like I don't know, in the film she has her own abilities and stuff, but like this film is like um
But she's
she
literally
like
treated like property. Literally, she's like an
that's her
actual like
character.
objective possession in that she's objectified and like just like literally a piece of property, which is a bit like mad.
Yeah.
That's her character though. That's not really down to her acting. Like she like I don't know, there's a bit where she I think the best kind of I don't know when Dr. Kananga is like shouting at her at one point when it's just them two and he's like talking about her impersonance or something and
Mhm.
she sells it really well like she's like just there kind of like not moving but like her facial acting like when
Afraid.
she's like
Yeah.
yeah like she really sells it like it's one thing for Dr. Kananga Yaphet Koto to be like going insane at certain moments which he does really well but it's another thing for
Yeah.
her or whoever like whoever's in the room with him to be like selling it like being afraid of him and it's
Mm.
both do it really well so I think I don't know she's a bit like I don't know. I never heard anyone criticize her as much as you did, but I think she's really good, in my opinion.
I think her
As well
acting
as
is
being
good, to
really,
be fair, as well.
yeah.
It's just like, I mean, this is also, you know, they're obviously adapting the book as well. There's just really not much for her to actually do. So,
Yeah, I think just her whole presence in the film is just strange, like what she's doing there in the first place, how she got. I mean, I know it's like a bit. It's not very productive to be like digging too deep into like Roger Moore Bond films, but when you sit there and you consider, like, okay, so it kind of gets implied that, or is it? I don't really know. Is like Kananga her dad, kind of?
No, 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 no. I
no,
think what I get from
maybe.
it is like her family is like in some sort of
Yeah, they're all like
bondage,
sort of yeah.
bondage to and then he's like using that or whatever. And with he's not her dad. I used to think that one was really little, but that doesn't really make sense. But um, then yeah, that's how I made sense of it.
It's weird because like if you sort of if I sit and think about a character, she has no kind of exposure to the real world apart from Kananga and his goons, and and that's it. Like, did she ever even have like an education or something? I don't get the impression that she did. Just like
Probably not.
very like. Do you get what I'm saying? Like it's like she's like a sole like single purpose
It's to
like
read cards.
literally like and has no existence other than that. I don't know. Like, I mean, obviously she has a comfortable life, but like, just
Yeah, pretty cool looking share as well, you know.
and
Yeah,
this is
little.
this is
Yeah.
probably why she's constantly like in these situations. She does like she gets tricked very easily. She gets like
Yeah, that
used
does
and
make her wonderful.
manipulated and passed around. Man, I don't know. I mean, quite a tragic character in that sense, to be fair. Um,
Do you know
but
what's
anyway,
quite
so
interesting? I was going to bring this
yeah,
up later, but it's relevant, I guess, enough now. Um, she was actually meant to be black, a black character,
mhm.
and what's her name? Rosie Carver was meant to be white, but for some reason they swapped it. And I don't know.
Interesting.
I think the dynamic would have been a bit different if she was,
Mm.
because I don't know in English. I mean, I go in that part of the world, we read like this book called Wide Sagasso Sea. Like, there's lots of kind of I don't know family feuds and stuff you could say going on, and like, if she was black and the whole bondage thing was happening with her, to for Mister Big, like that would have, I think that part would have worked been more believable within that context, like because that actually like happens and has happened in places like that, and yeah, but maybe I'm just reading into it too much. But I
I
thought,
don't know. I think it might have been a bit. I think they might have avoided that to avoid like portraying like too much when it comes to like a lot of the voodoo stuff. They'll be like, yeah, you know, it's not like exclusively like like white people can
That's
use
true as
tarot
well.
cards
Yeah, that's
too.
a good point. That's a good point.
yeah,
And she's like the high priestess, something like that. So so anyway, she gets so anyway, Bond actually meets her, and straight he's already like on the front foot, sort of
Yeah,
like.
literally. It's like wondering
um,
how do you pull like the star sign skull, you know?
yeah, yeah, literally. Um, Teehee shows up, and this I love this bit with Teehee, man. The music when
Yeah,
he pulls out his gun and bends the nozzle. Mate, that is fucking
and he gives it
amazing, man.
right back to him, like.
Yeah, like that is one of the coolest henchman introductions ever. Like that is so fucking cool, man. You don't get better than that. He like takes, is he armed? Gets the gun, fucking like destroys it and gives it back to him and just laughs and walks off, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Jeez,
then like
amazing.
Bond just drops it in the bin, like it's a fish or something.
Yeah.
It's like, funny how the least little thing amuses him, and like Tiki
Yeah,
just
and
laughs.
then
all
we
the
get
time.
to meet Mr. Big,
Yeah.
who
Yeah,
rocks up.
I kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, you forgot to mention, like when he's introducing himself to Solitaire, this is his moment where he gets to say Bond, James Bond.
Oh yeah, of course. I was always confused because I was about to say, because when he meets Mr. Big, he's about to say Bond, James Bond, and then he goes, "Names for Tombstones, baby,"
Yeah,
which
I
is
kind of like just
it's a
cut him off.
great line.
That's like
It made me
one of the
forget-
best. That's like one of the best movie roasts, mate, that I remember.
I love it, and he's like, "Yeah, waste this sucker, man," whatever he says.
Yeah,
Actually,
it's
they use the word, they use the term. What's the term?
Honky.
Honky.
Yeah.
That's like meant to be like a bit of a slur towards white people, right?
Yeah, but it's
No, fair.
it's very. I never understood where that comes from, but I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
it's
yeah. I don't know.
patient
Maybe
I
driver.
it's
noticed in this when I watched it last night. I noticed how often they use it. I'm like, oh, okay.
maybe it's like one of
So you
those
get
only.
this cracker outside.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe it was like one of those only fools and horses things where they just came up with something for the film. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I don't think
this
I've heard
film
honky
intended
outside
it.
this film. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, names of tombstones. He gets walked out at gunpoint. At which point he meets Strutter, who's like quite an underrated Bond ally, man. He unfortunately he's not in the film that much, but I mean technically he does more than Felix Leiter, and he's a very cool, sort of suave looking. Although it's a bit weird because when he's having a chat with Bond afterwards, he's like just walking around with the gun, man. Like he's like, yeah, I have a gun, man. I'm gonna wave it around a bit,
Yeah,
like.
I got an open carry license. Like, yeah.
Yeah. He's just enjoying. He's just walking like, like, I don't know. I
Yeah,
know
the
you
bit
have.
where he's like, I've got 5 seconds of screen
It's
time.
like in
Let's get.
Peep Show. There's an episode in Peep Show where they get hold of a gun. And Mark's like just walking around the flat with the gun. Like it reminded me of that a little bit.
Also,
But
do you
anyway,
see like? Also, do you see like one thing that I don't know just hit me a bit more, and this is when he gets out. The place looks like an absolute wasteland. Like this is meant to be
I'm
like the
glad you said that.
most developed city in like America or whatever.
Yeah,
Like
Well,
and
and
in the 70s, and it looks like it's like Eastern Europe or something or whatever after
Yeah,
World War
well,
Two.
it's like it's like with London. Yeah, the entirety is not going to look like the central part of the city, is it?
no, but I'm glad someone pointed that out. I nearly forgot to mention because that was New York in the 70s. It was an absolute shithole. And another famous film that takes place in the 70s is Taxi Driver. And that is also showing like, Travis Bickle, literally me. But that's also like depicts like what a terrible state New York was back then. So it was interesting for me to like sort of tie the two films together and notice that because like New York really was a shithole back then before it got like, what it is today sort of thing.
Which
Went through.
hasn't helped much, but
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
hasn't changed. Who knows?
Yeah. So anyway, we get to meet the genuine Felix Leiter as well, which is that's a good little gimmick there. And then he goes to a hotel. It's like Baron 70s performing there as well. He's got
yeah,
his
literally.
Thursday night gig there. Whatever.
It's so weird. Like imagine if that was your hotel entertainment and like I don't know when he goes.
You got
Do you
the
know
guy
that kind
like.
he gets messed with so much in this. Like James Bond goes up and the guy's just for like, oh, Mrs. Bond is expecting you. It's like, can you not?
Nice.
And then like when he goes in, there's so many people dodgy people that come in. There's like Whisper, like it's like public information, like where he is and
No,
everything.
but
And it's
Whisper's a good waiter.
Yeah, well, I don't even know what he's doing. He's supposed to just be there to like
Like, he
confirm James
nicked all
Bond's
this
there.
stuff, didn't he?
Did he? Oh yeah, he did, didn't he? I never. Well, thanks
So
for
silent, you
connecting.
never hear him.
And this is pretty
Yeah.
much the cinematic debut of the Roger Moore eyebrow, Mrs. Bond.
Yeah,
Like. So
And
yeah.
this isn't there someone else? No, I don't know. Yeah, and
You're
it's funny how
you're
like
missing out the guy who's like walking on his hands with his legs behind his head, or.
oh yeah,
Yeah, very weird.
everyone remembers
So
that.
Bond decides to have a bath and have a shave.
And there's a
And,
snake, like.
yeah, man. Like Snake comes in and like he like improvises a flamethrower, which is pretty cool. We're
Do you
all
know
shaxed
that?
up.
I mean, that probably scared everyone when they were little, and it
That's a
still
grass
scares me
snake,
now.
isn't it?
I'm terror. Could be. I'm not sure, but like I see any snake, I'd probably like faint or something. But like I wonder how it got there. Like, did it just happen to be there, or like did someone push
Through
it
the
No, you
there?
see
air,
Like,
them. You see him slide it through the air vent or something.
Yeah,
do
something
you?
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, you'd be
it comes
surprised how
Really?
down
wildlife
the
get hit
pipe and
out.
stuff. You know.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't see anyone putting it in.
Yeah, it just did it on its own accord. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like
It doesn't
not
show
everything has to
explicitly
be a
someone's
Doctor No
hand
kind
like
of.
placing it there, but it's pretty much implied. I don't know if it's
Oh,
whisper, but it's someone.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's
maybe they're like,
grim, though.
we've got a British agent coming. Put them in the room where snakes can get in through the vent.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
we can't like
I'm
can't
trying not to reference Peep Show here again because yeah, but okay.
we
Um,
can't like shoot him. Like we gotta just I don't know put some
The problem-
dangerous animal in his room. Like another really weird elaborate way to try and kill someone.
a
But
little nod to Doctor No, you could say as well, maybe.
Yeah.
this film gives me like really strong like Doctor No vibes, especially later
Hmm.
when they're on the
Is it
island.
just 'cause it's
Like
called Doctor
that.
Kananga?
No. That reminds the whole like San Monique crab key thing. Like really like similar
Yeah,
vibes. It gives.
maybe. Or
I
is it
agree.
also
I
'cause it's
agree. There's a
Parliament?
lot of parallels between this and Doctor No. Even small ones like that. Like the fact that Doctors. I never realised that. But you've also got Quarrel and Quarrel Junior. Tying them. Tying them together. You've got
A
obviously
useless
it's like
Felix Leiter.
it's a new Bond sort of debut. There are a lot of similarities, I believe, actually. Yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway, so and then we get to sort of meet Mrs. Bond, which is quite, she's like, it's so dramatic because he just killed the snake and he's looking for his gun. The gun's gone, and then he looks at the door and
Yeah.
like, boom, puts the cigar out on her hand, and then it turns out to be
Yeah, like
Rosie Carver,
he like
who
pulls her over
who
to
like her wig comes off, and I find it funny how that is as funny today as it was back then because like now you've got this trend on like online and stuff with like weaves and wigs and all that stuff like. I think that's quite funny still, but yeah.
Hmm.
So he meets Rosie Carver.
I mean, she does like a massive cartwheel, like on like littlest of momentum, but that's
She
I don't know,
does.
maybe like in her contract she said like I've got to do one cartwheel,
Yeah,
Yeah.
she does.
Like
So
like
anyway,
maybe she got like lessons from that guy in like You Only Live Twice, who does like a double front flip after he
Yeah,
kills him.
literally, I was thinking of that. Like, that's definitely where she got it from.
so yeah, they start getting acquainted, sort of thing.
Yeah.
There's like a weird hat with a feather in it and stuff, like some
Yeah,
voodoo
which
wall.
belongs to Mr. Samadi actually.
Yeah.
Maybe he was just
I was
because
wondering.
that's the hat they put on top of his grave as well.
Oh, I never made the
Oh, I never
connection.
noticed that. Wow.
That's
How did
cool.
I never notice that?
I
Wow.
don't know,
Okay,
James. How didn't you notice that?
fair enough. So
You
then,
meant he was just
okay,
like sleeping under the bed or something,
yeah,
When I
yeah,
was
maybe.
when I was younger, I always wondered if I know it's like really silly, but I always wondered if she was related to Elliot Carver somehow, just because they're the same surname. But pretty fairly common
Huh.
surname. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
you can. Yeah, that's probably not the case.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Uh-uh.
so Bond goes to then. So after this, Bond goes and meets. Oh no, well they have a little. There's a little transition period where he's got he's having
Yeah.
breakfast or
Queen of
whatever, and
Cups is
like sees
upside
the
down.
Queen of Cups. Yeah, goes and meets Coral Junior. Because he's like
Yeah.
walking down the docks and there's like all
Yeah,
these
there's
fish.
all
And
these
they're like,
people like,
yeah,
oh,
Oh
I've
yeah,
got
come,
this
come with
great
me,
girl,
man. Come with me,
wait.
Gringo.
There's
then he
like
he's just asleep and he's just like, yeah, all right, come on, mate.
there's this tiny little sign as well when he like goes to the place and it's on the wall and you only see it like for a split second, but it says like the tourist is our friend, Dr. Kananga welcomes them. And then like I don't know, it's just funny, like they put that little attention like to detail on that wall, which is like easy to appreciate, but it's I don't know, it's funny as well for me
Well,
when
yeah,
you
it didn't have that with Doctor No, It didn't even want to
yeah
say
Doc,
there's no welcome on Crag Key.
Yeah,
well
so
there is
he meets Carl Jr. and yeah, he's like, there's a funny bit, you know, he's like on the boat, you know, and then Rosie Carver's all suspicious. She goes down, finds the gun, and then she gets up, and it's like the most unfortunate timing. He's like behind Bond with like this rope, looks like it's about to hang him or something, man.
Yeah,
And then
literally.
it's like it does look it looks really sketchy, man. Like Rosie can't be blamed, man. But yeah, she like, you know, there's that sort of little
Yeah,
moment
I
as well.
love the bit though as well where she's like, you know,
I could have shot you.
yeah, she realizes she fucked up and she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I could have killed you." And yeah, he's like, "Oh, no, I could have shot you." And he's like, "Well, you might have even killed me if you took the safety off."
Yeah.
Yeah, like this one thing I really loved Quarrel Jr. because I felt like he was a bit unsung in Doctor No. Like I'm glad they made this character because it really feels like they're, I don't know, appreciating Quarrel a bit more through this character, and it's like that. And I'm glad he doesn't die in this with spoilers.
Yeah, for real.
And yeah, I'm glad like just Quarrel got referenced in some way later. But yeah, I really like it. And then we get like James Bond like doing a hang glide with like the one of those huge cigars that he has in this film, and um the Man of the Golden Gun later as well. I don't know,
Isn't that
like
no? Doesn't him hang gliding come later because he's with Rosie this time?
It comes a little
oh
later,
yeah, he
so he
does the
goes
little
and so like while this is happening,
Yeah, it's like, let's
Solitaire
go to
and
the
Kananga is like, oh, you
saxophone
know,
swing.
yeah, he's on his way. What's the future? Do you see death? And she sees lovers, and then she's like, yeah, I see death. She like
Wait,
bullshits
don't they
like this
walk
tarot
past?
thing.
Don't they walk past like Baron Samedi with like the flute?
The
yeah, that's
flute, yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
weird. Like
Yeah, he's like pulling a William Knight, you
It's a
know.
little later. It's a little later, but like first of all, she blunders like the tarot cards, right? And they go past the scarecrows. Um, Yeah, no, Baron's way later. They go past
oh,
like a bunch of scarecrows and stuff.
yeah.
And basically like, you know, Bond's sort of realizing that Rosie's like, you know, a double agent.
Like,
So he's like, this is like really brutal, man. He fucks her and then he like, you know, points a gun to her head.
yeah.
Um,
she
she gets
she's like
busted
she,
basically, and she's
she
in a rock
gets
between a rock and hard place because the scarecrow's looking at her, and then also,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, she's
Bond.
just
I
staring down the
feel
barrel.
I can't help but like feel really bad for her in this scene.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Yeah.
she doesn't really hasn't really done anything that's like in I don't know, she points the gun at James Bond, but I don't know, you could pass it off as her being suspicious or whatever, but like
Well, maybe
she
she was
like
actually trying to kill him though.
yeah, well you don't know, but like we haven't really seen her pull off anything that seriously damaged
No,
James
yeah,
Bond.
she gets handed a raw deal in this film for
And
sure.
like
Yeah, true. I
but
mean,
but
as well, he doesn't even know.
she's so bait though. She's like, on the other hand, she's like, over the hills, down there," and then like she just gives like the shiftiest instructions possible, and then just changes them later. She almost like baits herself out. But the bit when she sees the scarecrow and she's like scared for it for real now because it can kill her, and then Bond's just like, "You used to be a convincing actor." I like feel pretty bad for her, but and then
Yeah.
she runs off and yeah.
That's the thing that I don't get over these scarecrows, man. Do they have like with these remote controls, like yeah, they can turn around and shit, but like how like how many like months of training do you have to be to actually hit like someone with that? Like
That's what I wonder as well. Why didn't they shoot Bond at that moment?
Maybe it
The
only
only
has like one bullet or something in
Yeah,
it.
that's what I wondered. Like, there's only one scarecrow with one bullet in it.
God, do you reckon they had like
Oh,
Scaramanga operating that? Like
yeah,
yeah,
it's a
one
bit of
person who can
a
pull
yeah.
that off.
But I don't know. It is a dramatic moment, and it does raise the stakes a bit, so that's cool. So
Yeah.
after this, Bond decides now to get in his hang glider. Again, you know,
Yeah, well, he's
puffing away on
smoking
a
a cigar up there,
Cuban cigar. That's right.
There's really
Um,
cool music as well when he like drifts down to kick someone off the cliff in the hang glider, which I always thought was cool.
you have a little nod to Goldfinger as well when he like takes off the overall. He's got
Yeah,
like he
exactly. He
turns to
like
Blazer inside out. How cool is that,
yeah, no,
man?
and he also just like he's just got like I don't know what it is. Like he just like take like he's got like a
Those
second pair of
trousers.
trousers.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Very cool.
Yeah,
And then yeah, he goes and finds Solitaire and just tricks her into bed, basically.
yeah, literally,
Uh,
it's just like literally how to pull the star signs go. Like yeah, picked up the tabloid today.
how do you feel about this? Because like,
Yeah, I think it's fucked up.
it's
There's this
really dodgy, man. It's like
someone
it's not
I can
rape, but
explain it.
it's not
Yeah,
far off, man.
he like tricks her, but this film it might help to explain that loads of these romance scenes were like originally written as if Sean Connery were going to be like doing them. So like I don't know how he managed to pull off these sorts of scenes and not like I don't know get criticized even more for it. But like there's this scene where he's tricked her and then she's like freaking out because she believes the cards. And then like you go back to Roger Moore's face and he's just like looking at her and then his eyes go down to like and then like they would it's clearly written for like Sean Connery or something like that. And Roger Moore later says he was uncomfortable with like how it was being done, so they kind of changed it a bit. And I think that's one of the things that is not so like well tailored in this film.
It's funny because Roger Moore's like comes across as like in interviews as quite a principled sort of moral guy, and it's like he's just gone from like he was banging Rosie Carver and then like prepared to kill her straight away. He even says the line he's like, oh, you wouldn't kill me after what we just did. He's like, well, I certainly wouldn't have killed you before. And you're like, damn, son. And then he goes and does this to Solitaire, and it's very like very
this is the thing where you realize like this was probably written for Sean Connery. Like,
you know what? I wanted to bring this up actually. Like, okay, so I've heard a lot that this film was written, at least primarily initially with Sean Connery in mind. But there are a lot of Roger Moore moments, if you know what I mean, like sort of things we associate with Roger Moore that wouldn't happen in a Sean Connery film, apart from maybe Diamonds Are Forever.
This is why I said like just romance moments.
Like, I'm wondering at what point did they realize what Roger Moore brought to the table, right, in terms of his sort of comedy side, right? Because okay, so they originally had Sean Connery in mind, then they hired Roger Moore. Then Roger Moore starts filming with what is loosely a Sean Connery kind of script. And then at some point they must have been filming some scenes and gone, you know what, we can have a bit of fun with this now. I don't know, like, I mean, it's the same director as well. I forgot to mention this is Guy Hamilton, who came back to direct this film. So, and it's like completely different tone. Like it's weird how this. I think you would say overall this is a much more serious film than Diamonds Are Forever.
You think?
Yeah. Yet the Bond actor is much less serious. It's a funny one. How they balance it out. Although again, this is also I always think of Live and Let Die as a bit of a transitional film as well. I mean, you're getting Roger Moore, but not in full swing. You don't get Roger Moore full swing until I think The Spy Love Me, But I mean, even so, I think there's like some sort of growing pains in this film a little bit. But anyway, he tricks Solitaire into bed.
Ironically, I think that's the growing pains are a bit more evident in The Man with the Golden Gun. I don't know why or for what reason, but for some reason this film just feels like somehow it's just a bit more smooth with Roger Moore, even though Man with the Golden Gun's later. Like, I don't know, like that's what I think. But
I think they're both like. This is why I say they're both kind of like in a build up to The Spy Love Me. That's when it's almost like Daniel Craig in Skyfall. You need a bit of you need the first couple films like adjustment period, and then you get like the crescendo. Like this is the climax, like bang.
I would never compare Skyfall to The Spy Who Loved Me. Like, I'm sorry.
Man,
in fact, Goldfinger as well. Because you had a couple of films. I mean, there was no Bond before Sean Connery, but you need a couple of films. It's funny, like there is that kind of effect, and then you get like Sean Connery's most famous Bond film. You get Roger Moore's most famous Bond film, which I would say is The Spy Love Me, and you've got Skyfall with Daniel Craig, sort of the crown of their Bond reign.
Yeah,
no, I'm not saying The Spy Love Me is the best Roger Moore Bond film, but I think it is probably the most famous and the best known. Like
most people generally would consider it to be the best one from like general consensus.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So anyway, back to Solitaire.
So
he beds her. She's like, and he's took her virginity as well, which means that she's lost her fortune-telling powers supposedly.
Yeah,
well, however that works, but
and she's
she
very
goes on the weirdest run.
Yeah, she gets like saying some really strange stuff, and Roger Moore's like getting a bit freaked out himself. He's like, right, okay,
like, I hope she doesn't know how to cast spells, like.
Yeah, but I don't know, like if there's much more to say about this, I've kind of said what I would say, but
Yeah,
it's,
he like
it's just,
notices. Yeah, he knows posts on a wall like how to hex someone. He's just like, oh fuck,
yeah, he's getting like the Exorcist in there soon, man, or some shit.
Like
Um,
anyway. Yeah, but like
I don't know.
you
So
also
anyway, so
realize
he's
that,
like, okay, don't worry, we'll get on our bike and we'll
like,
get
do you
out of here,
have any
like, no.
information? She's just
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I just need a bit of information, by the way. While you're contemplating your mortality here, let me just.
yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but like he's like, oh, I'll bang you for information, and she like doesn't really have any information. It's just like he's just
Yeah,
like,
literally.
gosh,
This
I
is
there's
mean,
why.
so
I
much
mean,
the one,
like,
the
she
one, the
gets
one,
used in this film hard, man. I
the
don't think she's
one.
a good This is why I don't think she ages well as a Bond girl or anything. She's just like her character is really like stupid, for want of a better word. Like,
But it's
she's
quite
like just has
realistic. If she
like
didn't
has
have
nothing to
like
offer apart
education.
from these like tarot cards, and then after that, it's like, well, she's just literally a damsel in distress. She has like nothing to offer, man.
Yeah, but that's her character. You can't really blame it on the actress. Like,
well,
um,
actually, the character gives Yaphet Kota many chances to go insane. So
yeah, she
That's the
does. Like,
thing. I think
she's a
maybe
catalyst for
the
that.
most effective thing about Solitaire is how she contrasts Yaphet Kotto, because Dr. Kananga, he's like this fearsome, intimidating, sophisticated presence, and I think her next to him just really contrasts that as well. Like he's very intelligent. He's like resourceful. He's like got this whole. He's got like he's got everyone in the palm of his hand basically. He's got a whole island. Well, effectively, he's got like New York and New Orleans under his like grip as what we go out to find is his master plan. But we'll get onto that. Because first of all, we have Bond and Solitaire fleeing the scene, and this is when they go past Baron Samedi
yeah,
playing
yeah.
the flute.
What I'm gonna
Yeah,
say, James, like, does this not give off like massive William Knight vibes where he's just chilling there?
Oh
This is
yeah,
beautiful.
maybe it does a little bit.
There's no such
Oh
thing
yeah,
as
it's
a
a
coincidence.
beautiful day. Um,
Yeah, I love he's like he's got this flute and it just turns into like a radio transmitter as
yeah,
well.
yeah, because we saw earlier while Bond was going through New York, we see like the shoe shiner and stuff. Like everyone, literally, the network is crazy there, man.
it
Very
gives me the
impressive.
same. Gives me the same. Like another way it contrasts Doctor No because he has like all these people in random places as well, like
I think it's a
spying and
Bond trope
stuff.
because you do get it in You Only Live Twice as well, and From Russia with
Eh,
Love. It does. It happens. I mean, from Russia. I mean, You Only Live Twice. The girl's like talking into a handbag and stuff, man. You know.
yeah, you do actually. Yeah,
But yeah.
I think
So they follow
these
the
two films have it the
scarecrows.
most.
They follow the scarecrows into a poppy field, so where heroin is basically being produced. Um, then they
It's very.
basically
It's
they get
it's very.
chased by helicopter,
Yeah.
by chopper. Then they get on a bus, and we have
What I didn't get as well with this is like
yeah.
they're like, oh, well, if he finds it, then kill him. And it's just like, like if he goes underneath the canopy, the helicopter is not going to be able to see or aim at him. Just kill him immediately, right? That's like the whole point.
Like
But then
I
again, I
don't
guess he
know.
doesn't know if Solitaire is. Well, he goes to kill him anyway, even regardless of being the Solitaire. So
He's like really. It's really weird, elaborate system he has to like protect these drugs and stuff. And like, I don't know, he seems like I don't know, the lengths Dr. Kananga goes to like stop the population or whoever finding out about the drugs is like and then when Bond finds it, he's just so I don't know, initially so calm about it. He's like, yeah, if he finds it, kill him, and then that's it. And then he's not like freaking out or anything. But I mean he does later, which is really good, but
he
Yeah,
gets
but
the
that's
entire
That's the whole
police.
point. Doctor Kananga, he's like very much. He's just like, and that is his word. You make sure you kill Bond, and he puts emphasis on it as well. He says it in a calm way. But I think it's great that he goes to these lengths to hide this stuff, and when someone does stumble upon it, he's like, okay, like you got to get rid of him, basically.
Yeah, because like he,
Um,
he literally he has in order to keep everything together, you have to run a tight ship. And that includes
yeah.
and I
killing.
think it's refreshing to see like a genuinely well covered up sort of plot. Like the plot in this film is like relatively small scale, but for that reason it feels a bit more like realistic as well, and like a
Yeah,
Yeah.
bit better. Like it's
yeah,
well
I quite
executed.
like the plot of it as well, like his kind of plan.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah, I
we'll
love
get to
this
that a little
chase that they
later.
get
First of all,
into though.
we have the bus chase.
double-decker
So-
bus. Yeah.
This is a bit of a classic sort of. It's weird though, because like I say again, he's being pursued by the sort of county police.
Yeah.
And this is like, did you not notice like how silent this is until the very end? Like I believe
Not really,
even when
not really.
even when he's
Like-
driving the bus under the bridge and like the top bit comes off, which is a great stunt. There's no music at all. It's like really
Yeah,
silent.
genuinely.
There
I'm
is
just-
music. There is music.
No,
When-
there isn't.
when-
There isn't
Very-
until
No,
like
no,
he
no.
rides her into the town, like after the chase is done. Then there's music.
I'm pretty sure when the top comes off, there is like music.
Yeah, there's
Unless
a little
I'm, like-
there's a little bit of thing where it's like, well, I'm pretty sure it's like just before, where it's like, oh yeah, by the way, it's a low bridge, so they have like a little bit.
Ah,
of
yeah, you're right. You're right, actually.
Yeah, I
But
thought I had like
that's it.
outside,
Other than
like-
that, it's like
I
completely
thought, I
silent,
thought,
which is
I
like
thought I had
weird.
like, I thought
Yeah,
I
you
had,
just
like,
hear the bus engine going.
outside
You know,
whistle or
like it's just
But
rumbling off.
the reason, I know for me it wasn't
Had
so
a
much
slide
about.
whistle in.
For me, it wasn't so much about the chase. It was about like, I don't
The
know.
message.
No, I know, like scenery, I guess. Like, because this is another one of those exotic locations he goes to. Well, it's fictional, but nonetheless. And then, like, he's just driving around this bus, and then I don't know. I tend to notice, like, oh yeah, he's driving through this place. Oh, look at that! It looks pretty cool. And then, like, I mean, the action that's meant to be action, like really like full on, is like later. This is just kind of. It feels more functional, but it's still good because it has like a really, really funny and memorable like stunt, you could say, as well, with the top of the bus coming off.
And the fact is Bond driving a bus as well. It's like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, exactly.
it's
Yeah,
quite
I
good.
like every time I see him like going to the pier, like I just half imagine it's because the spy love me. I just think, yeah, he's just gonna drive right into the water, you know.
Oh,
It's just like, yeah,
you
all
you
right,
can
not that yet. Let's
you
go.
you can think that because like the way he like accelerates down the pier, like and nearly runs everyone over, and they all have to like jump off for dear life, and like I don't know, like I always notice that, like, isn't he not going to be like a bit more careful around them? And then it's like,
I found it funny as well, like how Bond insisted he wanted to do the cool machete thing, like chop the rope, you know, like
Yeah,
it's like don't
exactly.
worry, I'll take care of that. Oh, this is cool, you know, like.
Yeah.
So anyway, so they get off in the boat, obviously, with Coral Jr. And then they basically get trapped in the taxi driver with the Sideburns guy again.
Yeah, they
He's like,
picked
go
up
for a
the wrong
ride,
cab.
Jim.
how did he not clock that? By the way, he gets into the car and sees like the most iconic like hair slash sideburns ever, and then he's like, you know where you going, man? And then it's like, and then just gets trapped like nobody's business, and then it's like, okay, you had it coming if you weren't gonna.
Should have pulled the Tintin, get out a pocket knife, cut a hole around the bottom of the taxi, and get out that way.
But
But,
like
you know.
when you get into the, I don't know, James Bond's stupid for that. I think.
Well, anyway, they rock up
I
at a
don't know.
plane
After
school.
after all that, you probably think, oh, my man.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
got
I
his
guess.
mind on other things, I think. But anyway, they rock up at a plane school. Now this is really strange for me.
An
I
airport,
just will
yeah.
never understand how, and no matter how many times I watch this, what is going on when Solitaire and Bond get apprehended, and then Bond is like being sort of marched onto the plane, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, well it's a great view from up there, you know, when you get thrown out the plane." And then it's like, "Oh well, my only regret is," and she comes out and like my only regret is I won't be there to see it. And then she like swings for Bond, and then she
Yeah.
completely vanishes. And while they all go and chase him around in a plane, this is completely ridiculous. But I think it starts. What is going on there?
What do you
I
mean?
thought
As in you're confused as to why she wants to hit him?
Yeah, what's Solitaire
She
doing?
just because he's like, oh yeah, we're gonna be fine, and now he's just gotten her kidnapped, and she's going back there where she's gonna die.
Yeah, like
But why did she swing for Bond? I just don't like.
Because-
it's so
Because she,
random.
like, she's
Because
basically
either
just
way-
gotten me killed.
yeah, like either way, she's
think-
fucked more or less. Like
Yeah,
she's-
but
she's-
I just
she's
find it
she's
like.
been and like, or
It looks-
maybe another way I interpret it is like she maybe is trying to like, I mean this is less believable, but you could still take this angle, like she's trying to like make it look like she got kidnapped, and like I don't know, that it was all unwilling, and that's like her display of like resistance in front of the
I
villains,
think you're
just
giving
so
her
they
way
like,
too much credit, man. Her
I
intelligence.
never re-
Yeah, but still, James, though, like if someone like rescued you, like
Yeah.
took
I
on
hear,
this
I
one
hear
thing
that. I
made
hear
you
that. But she
valuable to
doesn't
your
say. She
boss.
doesn't look angry or stressed. It looks like. I think it might just be down to bad acting because
Nah,
she
you
doesn't
just
look-
have, you have
she
like
says
a
it in
I
such
think
a
you're
calm-
looking into it too much.
No, because she says it in such. No. It does that action not seem weird to you? The way she says it is very like she's sort of just like, well, my only regret. And then like she got like a broom up her ass, and then like I won't be there to see it. Like that is it's like poor act. I don't know if it's poor acting or if it's staged or if there's something going on. I just don't understand what is happening there.
She looks angry to me. And another reading I've heard of this is like when she like hits him with the bag, that's like meant to be like, I don't know, his get out or something to like create, I don't know, a scene so he can like get away or something.
I don't know. I
But
think
like
she's genuinely pissed off with him. Like I never saw that as like weird or anything. So,
But she doesn't sound pissed off.
she
but
does.
that's
She
I
sounds
think that's more of a
she
you
looks
problem.
pissed off as well.
I don't know.
Do you
I don't
not
get. I
see
think
it
it's
when
no, not at all. I think it's like one of the strangest bits of acting I've ever seen. But maybe that's just me. Anyway, so anyway, Bond hijacks a plane with Miss Bell in it, Mrs. Bell, sorry.
Yeah,
And
where's Mr. Whatever his name was?
yeah,
Mr.
The
Blinker?
yeah, Mr.
yeah.
Blinker.
So we have this sort of plane. This is like really ridiculous, man. This was not written with Sean Connery in mind, I don't
God,
think.
they love a good bit of like Roger Moore on a plane doing some goose.
Yeah. Yeah, with like the cars flying off and like I don't know, like it's pretty ridiculous.
You
You
get
have
the
like
weirdest
a real
line as well.
variety of like stunt planes as well. You have some planes which are like made of paper. Like a car drives into one, and it literally folds around the front of the car, and the car like drives off fine, you know. And
You
then
see
the
like
next plane is like destroys the car. So
you see this like really weird line where it's the cab guy who's like, I can't find the brake, and then like he just, how do you not find the
Yeah.
brake? Like the thing is like, yeah, the window's shattered, but that shouldn't
I
stop
was
you
like,
from finding.
maybe got like a fourth hand car which just didn't come with a brake or something.
One thing I did notice that was pretty cool is like that you get a scene where there's the planes going across this warehouse, and then they're like, close those doors, and you see him like closing it. I always thought that was like, I don't know, that's like an early adaptation of like the Octopussy thing where they tried to do that and then they kind of use that later, but for greater effect, I think.
yeah, it's cool, definitely. So then we cut to New Orleans again. This time Strutter, he bites it. He's killed. Unfortunately, I liked Strutter, but he's killed as well in exactly the same fashion as the guy earlier at the beginning of the film. And Bond and Felix Leiter, they walk straight past the whole thing, and they're like they've got no idea what's going on.
Exactly, that's what I mean. It's like it's a pretty covert way of getting rid of him.
Yeah. Fair play. They go and sit in the they go inside the restaurant.
I
And
like how like
doesn't want to go by the booth. Let's go nearer the stage.
Yeah,
And it's
I
like
really
it's
like.
so obvious. It's the same like waiter and everything, man.
No,
It's
oh
I
man, I
really
forgot to mention the first time he was there in the filet au sol. Um, like he has like he's like completely sticks out like a sore thumb there for many reasons. Not only that he's white, but he's also not American either. So like they're like everyone's having like a joke at his expense. There's like, oh yeah, can I have that with like no ice? And he's like, yeah, that'll cost extra. Like they're all and everyone's just like taking the piss out of him, like laughing. He's just like, well, shit, I'm gonna sit by this booth, and then they spin him round.
it's so like, yeah, it's funny, like, and he's like, it's funny because he's meant to be like a secret agent in essence, but he's like the most obvious person ever in that situation. And
Yeah, and
like
Strutter says that to him as well. White face in what's the
In Harlem.
area called?
Harlem.
Yeah, white face in Harlem.
Quite
You know,
funny.
it's like so. Yeah, it
One
is
thing
quite
that
right,
is
and it's funny how that dynamic is totally turned on Bond. He's like really like But anyway,
one thing that is pretty cool about this scene though is like, it's just a little detail, but I like the little stage performance of the main film title
yeah,
as well.
this is really like it's one of those meta moments in Bond. They like doing it in Roger Moore films in particular, where like the song gets thrown in there, and you're like, yeah, it's very cool though. It's very well done. I think I do
Yeah.
like it.
And when she says "live and let die," that's when he goes down, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
very
because
cool.
he disappears beneath the floor.
Leiter gets totally fooled, man. He goes for like a phone call, then comes back and it's like, yeah, let me tell you what happened with your friend. And he's like,
It's
don't know if he's just sent on his way, but what
Yeah,
the fuck
exactly.
is Felix Leiter doing? Because he doesn't come.
it's really weird to me because like, how does he get out of that situation alive? Because obviously he's gonna try and get people into it, and then they know he's friends with Bond. So how do they not like just? He's
Yeah,
lucky
exactly.
to
What
get out
happens
of
to
that, man.
Felix Leiter?
Well, he could just.
Yeah, does he have his
I
own
don't
little
know.
Bond mission? They
Maybe he
kidnap him
has
and
to
he
like
escapes
play.
and we
Maybe
never
he has
see
to
it.
play dumb or something. Anyway.
Do you think Felix
Well-
Leiter maybe like he was also being tortured somewhere and he like and just no one cares, he just
Yeah,
like,
exactly. No one gave a shit. Anyway, well, before we move on, I think I've a few questions for you.
I want to play a game.
So pay
Okay,
attention.
let's do it.
Hold on. This is actually testing whether you did pay attention. So,
Mhm.
for license to quiz today, your first question, Tom and James.
Hang on,
the sc-
what are the scores?
4-4. No, 3-4.
Yeah, 3-4 to Tom. So, this is for the split so far. So, question 1: what do you think the budget was for this film?
I'm gonna say 10. No, I'm gonna say 12 million.
I'm gonna go with 10.
I don't know which one.
James, that's a point to you.
Fuck's
Uh,
sake, I
it
didn't
was-
know which one to go with.
It was 7 million.
Yeah, I thought it'd be lower. Yeah.
Yeah, it was-
Yeah, even 10 was a bit
This
high.
was
but yeah.
relatively. Well, I mean, that would have been, because of inflation, that would have been less than actually the previous. Anyway, what do you think the box office was for question 2?
I think I'm gonna say 110 million.
I think less. Probably 70 million, I would say.
Yep. Tom, 161 million. You were closer.
Oh, wow.
This made a. That's $1 billion today. Still 1.
Why?
1.08.
I'm really surprised by that. Fair play. That's really strange. There's no big name actors in this, and it didn't come off the back of a
It
good
must have
Bond
been. It
film.
might have been like the actual song itself that got people to watch it. Like people must have.
Maybe.
Anyway, in his debut Bond film, how old was Roger Moore?
45.
45.
That goes to Tom. He said it first.
No, I swear we said it at the same time, man.
I said
No,
it first.
I heard Tom first on that, like easily.
All right.
I mean, I can always go and check it if you want. If you
Nah,
like.
that's all right. I'm not that guy, man. Fair enough. If I lost, I lost.
Anyway, so how much was he also paid for his first appearance as Bond?
500 grand.
Is that correct, or is it worth me guessing?
You can guess.
Henry. Okay.
If someone gets spot on, I will just say
7 million was the budget. I'm gonna go. He was a TV actor. It's basically higher or lower, isn't it?
I'm gonna say 750k because that's a bit. Yeah.
Oh, I'll go with
Given
500
the
then.
budget.
so. Your answer, James, is 500k. Tom is 750.
Yeah.
Tom, he was paid $1 million.
Yes.
He was paid
A million
lot.
out of 7 million. Wow.
Yep.
Wow. I feel
Okay.
disrespect to Sean Connery right there, but yeah.
Throughout this film,
7th of the budget. That's insane. Wow.
yeah, that's according to the richest. So anyway, question 5: how many Bond allies died in this film?
4. No. Because that's in the big.
Can you define Bond ally? I mean, Rosie doesn't count, right? So.
Well, okay, people that Bond had as an ally throughout this film.
So does
I
Rosie
think
count or
it's
not?
3 people. 3 people.
Rosie doesn't count because she was a double agent.
I think
Someone
it's
says 3. I'll say 4.
It was 5, James. So you get point.
Because Strutter dies as well. So
Yeah,
there's
he
the
does
3 at the beginning.
Does that count though? The 3 at the beginning because they weren't really with
Yeah.
James Bond.
They're
Oh, okay.
Baines,
Like,
man,
they-
they went back, you know.
they're on the
Yeah,
good side. Yeah, exactly. I rather like Baines. We share the same bootmaker.
Exactly.
Anyway, how many lines does Whisper have in this film?
I'm gonna say 8. No, I'm gonna say
It says your
5.
champagne so twice. Shall I open it twice?
Yeah, I think you might want to keep that to yourself, James, when you're counting.
Well, what's Tom's final answer then?
I'm
8,
gonna
you said,
say
right?
no. I'm gonna say 5.
I'm gonna say.
No, I'm gonna say 6.
It says a
6.
couple at the end as well. I think 7. I'm gonna go with 7.
Tom, you got to bang on
Yes.
6 lines because he also says "look out" at the very end.
Yeah, that's the one I remember. But it was like, when he says thank you when James Bond gives him the
Wait,
tip.
wait,
That's
James,
the
what
one
was
I
your
forgot
answer?
about.
7.
No, sorry, it was James. I got misheard.
Hey!
My mistake. Sorry, because I was looking at the 2 different tallies I made. Because anyway,
So what's the scores now? 3-3, right?
3-3. Don't know, sorry for my slip up there. So for the last
Checky,
right. So for the last question, if you can finish the sentence for me, either of you, whoever does it first. Unlucky at cards.
Lucky at love. Lucky in
Well done,
love.
James.
Wait, no, because you said like what was that the one for the film or was it the real life one?
They're both the
Well,
real life
both.
one.
You should have specified because he doesn't say that in the film.
Yeah, but I still got it right. Wow, we pulled it back to 4-4, man. That was pretty like I thought it was over as well because of the whisper lines. I was like, oh shit, I've lost, man. But there we go.
Next time,
Okay.
please be a bit more specific with the
But
questions.
do you know what's funny? Do you know what's
it-
funny?
it's-
Because
it's
when
a
you
thing that says-
when you give the questions, they're meant to be related to the film, not something outside.
Yeah, but
it.
Bond says it at the end.
That's
He
what he's
goes,
referencing.
unlucky in cards. And then I actually looked it
Doesn't
up on my
finish.
phone. You could see it in my history. I was like, what's the end of that saying? And so I didn't know it until last night. So,
But
you know.
he doesn't.
Just-
But he doesn't say that in the film though. So
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
but
but
he
it's
also
like
doesn't
if you
say how
say,
long
you
it is in the film
know,
either. They
I
don't
know,
say how
sorry?
much the budget was.
what? Yeah, but that is facts about the film. I don't know.
take up with the Quizmaster, man, because I have won, and now it's 4-4. So, what a
You've
comeback, by
drawn.
the way. 4-0 down,
You've
4-0.
you've
4-0.
you.
Well, we can talk about this afterwards, but for now,
Yep.
it's 4-4.
Okay, so yeah, Okay, so where were we? Oh yeah, so he goes and meets Mr. Big now again. He's interrogated by him. He's like, sort of strapped to a chair. Solitaire's there. So's Teehee. And yeah, Mr. Big's like, yeah. So did you touch that?
Yeah,
And Bond's
wait.
like, oh well, that's just between me and me and Kananga, like, mind your own business. And he goes, you won't see the sunlight. Like Mr. Big's like really intimidating, man. But Bond's
Yeah.
not like sweating it at all. He's just like, nah, fuck you, man.
Yeah, when I see Kananga,
Yeah, I don't talk to lackeys, like. And then he goes right, and then we get sort of a bit of a big plot twist, because he like rips off this mask. He turns out to be Kananga in disguise the whole time, which is
yeah, I
very
like that.
cool. And
Yeah, 'cause I
the only
like as
thing
well
I
is,
hate
like,
about
the
this
effect
scene is
photos,
how
like-
bad the mask is. The effect is because he like pulls it. And that must have stung his face for starters when he does that. Like it slings back on his face, and it doesn't. It's like I wish it could have just been done a bit cleaner. Like the mask removal.
Well, they probably did the best with what they could back in the day. So
I guess it was very cool twist though. Even though like when I was younger, I didn't really. It was a bit strange for me, but now I'm like, oh yeah, that's really
'cause
cool.
we weren't following too much, but
Yeah. So Mr. Big turns out to be Kananga the whole time, and then we get this whole like exposition of his plan, which is to release heroin into the streets for free, and then put everyone else out of business, and then get loads of addicts on, and then like double his money basically. Which is a pretty good plot. I mean, it's nothing too, world domination or anything. It's like,
well, to be fair, he massively increased the amount of use of heroin and also make a monopoly of it. And I liked as
Yeah.
well his like little things like other than it's like me and the telephone company will be the only market monopolies operating.
yeah, it's a good plot. Yeah, Kananga's like strutting about. He's really like.
Sure
I
of
mean,
himself.
this is a bit of a trope with Bond villains, but he really sells it in terms of just being like, yeah, he's really in control here. He's like got everything going
Yeah.
his way, apart from Solitaire. So now he's like, okay, so now what, Bond? Now I'm here. Tell me. And he's like, Bond's like, well, the gentleman never really says, like,
Yeah,
whatever. It's like,
he's
shut up, Bond, man. You got found out. He's squirming now, man. And then like they do like the watch test on Solitaire, which she like again she's like shaking in her boots, man. Like, oh, it's a yes, I think, maybe, you sure?
Yeah.
Yes, no, yes, yeah. Like, he's like, yeah, okay, see you later then. So Bond gets carried off by Whisper,
Yeah, exactly.
and Solitaire gets battered a little bit. And Baron Samedi rocks up as well and starts burning cards and shit, you know. So
yeah, I just think I didn't get like. Surely Baron Samedi could also read tarot cards, right?
yeah, 100%. But that's probably like low level for him, man. He's like busy, like probably bringing cats back to life and stuff, man.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like,
Exactly. Well, he's back at his show where he like pretends to rise from the dead, you know.
yeah, exactly. Like this is small time stuff for him, man. He just like he could do it, like just picks one up. It's like, oh, there you go, mate. But I do like I love Kananga's performance at this moment. He really loses his shit with Solitaire, and I don't know, he's
It's
like,
like, you know, I would have shagged you. You knew that.
yeah, you knew that. Yeah, he like loses it, man. For the first time as well. Until then, he's been cool as a cucumber, man, and now he's like pissed off, you know. So yeah, I think Kananga like really delivers. And there's a particular shot where he stands up. I don't know. I notice it every time he like when he stands up out of his seat, and the camera angle just like moves with him, and it's like you're like there, man. It's like I don't know. He's like very intimidating, like villain, man. Very good. And this is the only villain performance I've seen him in, because, like I say, in Alien, he's like completely different character. He's like, you know, you remember him in Alien, right?
Very vaguely, because I've seen Alien
Yeah.
quite a few, like maybe 3 years ago, and I've only seen it once. So
Yeah, you should watch it again. Alien's great, and he's
Yeah.
great in Alien as well, and the Running Man as well, which was in the 80s, but still. Again, he's Arnold Schwarzenegger's like buddy in that film, basically. So you know, I mean, yeah, it's a great variety of characters that I've seen him play. In this one, he's like a very fearsome villain, a Bond villain no less as well. So anyway, so they go and do that.
Bond goes to the farm.
Bond goes and visits the crocodile / alligator farm where trespassers will be eaten, as we can see from where you are, Henry. Sorry for the Spotify listeners, but yeah, so you have the alligator farm. So and in amidst this farm, there's like a lab going on as well, where they're like refining the heroin, presumably.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, don't know how they delivered all that equipment out there, but I guess they're making it work.
Yeah. So Bond is there. We get a bit. We get spend a bit of time with Teehee. Yeah, we get his story. You know, he's talking about the crocodiles and like how one of them tore his arm off.
You want to know how I got this arm? You know.
Yeah, man. And yeah, so he leaves. And he's like fucking with Bond. You know, he's like, oh, there's only 2 ways to stop a crocodile killing you, man. Like, well, one is you jab him in the eye, or the second is is even simpler. You just put your hand in his mouth and rip out his teeth. You know, like, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is when we get to see.
Bond is just like, you know, despite the fact in the situation he's in, he's just like, you know, he like looked relatively calm for someone who has to deal with this, you know.
Oh, definitely. And then obviously he's got obviously the watch comes into play again, but it's funny because it doesn't really like execute as well as he intended, because like he pulls on the boat.
I like that they actually failed.
Very good use of the gadget, I must say. Like very good use. Very practical. And but then obviously it's tethered, so they can't come as close as he wants, which is cool because, you know, it's like oh yeah, Bond gets out of everything, but then sometimes things fuck up.
Yeah.
But then the stars do align a little bit, almost literally, where you have now. Correct. I mean, this is obviously very parodied, and like this is sort of like a bit of a joke when it comes to Bond. But yeah, I think people like mock this scene quite a lot. But
they shouldn't. But
yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think this stunt was done for real.
It was done for real, and it was actually done by the owner of the croc farm. He's like, you know,
right.
He insisted
like first time as well, right?
It wasn't first time. He nearly died multiple times doing it, but
wow. I think it's worth mentioning as well with Roger Moore. I find this funny. You know, with a lot of actors, especially these days, they pride themselves on like doing all their own stunts and stuff. They're like, yeah, I do my stunts. Roger Moore is like he doesn't give a shit, man. He's like, nah, I've never done any of my stunts. He doesn't even run on the film.
Yeah, exactly. He has someone else do running for him because, like,
he doesn't like how he looks like when he runs.
Yeah, he doesn't look. Yeah.
How funny is that?
It's quite funny, but to be fair, if I was him, I should be like, you know, I'm being paid, you know, like
I respect that. He's like so open about it. He's like, yeah, I don't do any of my own stuff, and it's just funny. He's been paid way more than than Sean Connery. Sean Connery went through like, went to hell and back for his Bond films in
Yeah,
terms of like
man.
injuries and stuff.
Also, this is just as a side note. Do you know how much George Lazenby got paid for a single time as Bond?
No, got well, no
He
idea.
only got paid 80 grand.
Oh,
Like,
really?
he was after that. He was actually broke. Like he was broke
Yeah,
as
I'm not
Bond.
surprised he went bankrupt, man. Do you want to like? Should we find out where Tom went?
Tom must have had some like connection issues or something. So you can always ask him
Oh, what am I doing? Should we call him quick or?
on his like can't be bothered.
Right. So then we get this boat chase, which is like the longest boat chase ever.
Yeah.
And this is where like from what I'm aware at the time, the reception to this film was like Roger Moore's kind of like a silent Bond because he goes about 15 minutes without a single line of dialogue, right?
Hmm.
From like now until from his last conversation with Teehee until like
Well, what's he
way
supposed
like
to say? You know, like
well
you know,
yeah just on the boat he has literally nothing to say. So
yeah,
so yeah.
I mean, also you might have glossed over the fact that he kind of led like food into the lab and
Oh
set off
yeah, that's right. Yeah, he leads the
Dudley.
alligators and burns down the lab. So, definitely puts a dent in Kananga's operations there. But yeah, so he escapes on a motorboat, and yeah, he's been pursued obviously by not just Kananga's henchmen, but then by by the police,
Yeah, exactly.
including a certain Sheriff J.W. Pepper, who like his first act is like a typical like redneck racist cop man. He's like goes up to one of Kananga's henchmen, who's like the nameless one, but he's like really cool as well.
Yeah,
Literally. Yeah, but like he's there, and then like JW's like, yeah, put 10 fingers on the thing.
Yeah,
I bet this isn't your
first
debut.
time, is it,
He's like proper racist to this guy, man. So yeah,
yeah. I mean,
but obviously, yeah, go on.
They included Sheriff J.W. Pepper because like they had a few predicaments when filming this because obviously Bond is the white hero and obviously the villain who's black is going to be defeated, and they'd be like, yeah, this like we have to balance it a bit. So and also they were getting apparently the American police were like being a pain in the ass to them like while they were filming as well. So they just decided, right, let's put in a like our greatest American stereotype yet, into the Bond series, like. Like
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I didn't know that. I didn't know he got written in like that because yeah, he is like basically the stereotype American as far as I'm concerned, and I love the context around it, and that adds up to my question about because this is why he was the main thing I had in mind when I was wondering about the transition between Sean Connery and Roger Moore. At what point did they decide to introduce J.W. Pepper? Because he would not fit in a Sean Connery film, but that adds up then if it was sort of like during the filming, basically.
Yeah, he as well. I love the bit as well, like because like the boats like go over, he sees this. The henchman takes his time to dip, and like the boat, one of the goons' boats goes right through his car, and his like underlings like pop up there, or like, just making fun of him. Like, he's like, "God, what happened to the sheriff's car?" And then like the other one's like, "Oh, you haven't heard? That's one of the new boat cars, And he hears this, and he's like,
Yeah, I love it.
It's like,
yeah,
it's
and
also
he tries to have his cool one-liner. He's like almost like a white EDP man. I don't know about you, but I get that I get those vibes from him, man. Just like
where he's trying to have like he's speaking like using like the law, which is written in eloquent English, and it just sounds like ridiculous saying it. And he's like, I'm going to commandeer this vehicle, and that includes you, smart ass. They're both just like,
yeah. Well, anyway, so then. Okay, yeah. So then this chase continues for ages, man. Oh yeah, this is quite funny because it like JW's like, don't worry, my brother Billy Bob or his cousin, Billy Bob,
my brother-in-law Billy Bob.
Yeah, Billy Bob. He's got
I
the fastest.
I was almost going to ask you like how many times did they say Billy Bob throughout this, but
a question I thought you were going to ask: what time was it when M knocked on his door? Which was 5:48. I wrote it down, so I might as well say it.
Nice to know, but too bad.
Yeah,
nice to know that as well.
Yeah, I listen. Like I'm trying to get a step ahead of Henry, but
this is because I'm trying to get a step ahead of him, which is why I don't always.
You
not
actually
every single-
write. You actually write these things down because I always made a point of not writing them down and using them.
Oh
on the
no,
strength of
I'm
my-
always making sneaky little notes, like just in case something comes up. But the thing is, I've never been able to correctly anticipate one of Henry's questions.
Exactly, because at the same time, I see something and I'm like, well, I think he might think I'm going to ask this question.
I
Which is
never.
also
I
why
never.
not every single question is something that is exactly in this film. Like, for example, like how old was he, and so on and so forth. Because it's not. There are some things that you have to make either a complete guess or an educated guess on. So
Yeah.
Can, explain some things.
So then, yeah, it explains why I lost the first four straight. But then, yeah. So then we cut to So Billy Bob's boat gets hijacked by
the
the guy
nameless
without
guy.
a name. Yeah, the nameless goon
He's,
who's
he's
like
still
really
so
cool.
cool though. Like he doesn't
It's
say anything.
Adam,
Like
and you
he
hear
just
his
like
name in this
demolished
film.
like JW's car and he just dipped.
Yeah, it's so good, man. And he goes and like takes out his brother-in-law as well, commandeers his boat. Like
Yeah, but I like
what's-
it. They don't make a point of him killing him as well. He's just like he doesn't unnecessarily kill people either.
No, he
he,
didn't
like-
kill him, did he?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like the
Yeah.
like
He just knocks him out.
if we're talking like yeah.
Yeah. So then he gets on the boat, zooms after Bond, and then Bond like
Yeah,
throws
proper
petrol in
zooms
his
and
eyes
everything.
basically, and like makes it makes it
but
explode
I
on
like
another boat.
I like the bit of comedy though beforehand where like they're all like sitting.
Oh yeah,
like,
sorry,
the
yeah,
police
yeah.
are on the bay and there's like trying to be like, oh yeah, my
Here
brother-in-law's
comes
Billy
Billy
Bob,
Bob.
he'll
There he
get
is,
him.
man. And it's like, oh,
Yeah,
you
like
sure
here
about that, mate?
he's the only one who's not looking because he's too hyped about it. And then it's like, you sure that was your cousin? You sure that was your brother-in-law?
Yeah. Very good.
My brain's always correct. Cousin from the south.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not like it's always mutually exclusive, probably in those parts.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
Anyway,
Family tree like a Christmas wreath.
anyway, they eventually like Bond eventually sort of shakes everyone off, and Felix Leiter meets him, and then JW's there. He's like gonna have his moment. They take him aside, like, "No, listen, mate. He's actually like a secret agent. A secret agent on whose side?" Most exaggerated performance ever, man. But it works. It definitely works for this film. So yeah, and then it's like, oh yeah, so then we cut to basically this is the climax of the film. Pretty much, we have
I
Bond,
didn't realize how much
Leiter,
the car
and
is.
Quarrel Jr. They're all on the boat, ready to go and take down Kananga and his island, his base, and rescue Solitaire, presumably.
Yeah, Ocelot is the sole reason why they can't just like nuke the place.
Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, shit. So they go and like, and there's this like voodoo ceremony going on, in which obviously Solitaire's tied up and sort of teased with this snake, but then they decide not to kill her.
Yeah,
With
it
that.
reminds me of like Temple of Doom, where
Yeah.
for like the bloke, there's no mercy, just rip his heart out, boom, done, send the next one in.
Yeah, very
And
convenient.
then when it comes to Willie Scott, it's just like, oh well, we'll just give you a few more minutes just to before
I'm
we.
gonna hesitate just for you. Yeah, just enough time for someone to come and bail you out. I do want to comment
he's
as
paid
well.
by the hour, which is why he's taking forever.
Yeah, I do want to comment. Roger Moore is here, and he rocks up with a Magnum 44, which got me
Yeah,
thinking,
exactly.
like, did because obviously Magnum 44 is famously like the gun that Dirty Harry uses. So to see Roger Moore with it, I was like, shit. I wonder, like, did Dirty Harry come out before this film? And it did.
Fun fact, by the way. I mean, unfortunately, my equipment kind of messed up a bit,
Yeah, go on.
which is why I'm gonna get to
Go on.
say some stuff. But with this film, with this part, I mean, you mentioned when we were watching it, Felix, ominous when he says "watch out for sharks" on the way back. But
Mhm.
in the novel, this is actually the one where Felix Leiter gets his leg bitten off by a shark and not licensed to kill. So, yeah. So I thought when
Nice
you
to
mentioned
know.
that, that's a bit of a coincidence.
Yeah.
Convenient
Also, you
coincidence.
forget to mention Roger Moore also rocked up with the black turtleneck, so
Yeah, but on this Magnum 44, I was wondering if in Clint Eastwood Dirty Harry, like if that was that, and that came out in 1971. So it's interesting for me that almost certainly had an influence on Roger Moore's weapon in this scene.
Weapon of choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like convinced. And there's one other. Yeah, obviously Robert De Niro uses one in Taxi Driver as well.
Yeah,
But
that's the thing as
that
well.
came
Like
out afterwards.
when Roger when he shoots he shoots a guy twice with it, and I'm like, do you really need to shoot someone twice with this gun? You know, like for
Worth
starters,
mentioning, we've all fired a Magnum 44 as well
yeah,
at some point.
he would have him and like just firing at once. Him and everyone in like a 10-meter vicinity would have all gone deaf. You know, like with how loud that bloody thing is. You
Yeah,
know,
we know that from experience, man. It's like a
well, there's
cannon.
guns in films, you know, but it really
Yeah,
is.
but yeah, I just think it's cool to see Bond wearing Magnum 44, and just surprising is it was influenced by Dirty Harry clearly as well.
Yeah.
So then there's like this grave resurrection thing with Baron Samedi, where like
Yeah, and it's
they
like
put the
clearly
hat
a
in the
doll.
grave and he comes up, and it's all like trick work, it's all like machines underneath, but the villagers aren't haven't cottoned onto that. So he raises from the tomb and fights Bond, like, which is over pretty quick, gets pushed into a coffin of snakes.
Mhm.
Bond goes and saves Solitaire, runs down into the grave, literally.
Yeah, like
They're
speeds up
trying to
like
dodge some
Sonic.
henchmen, but basically
Yes.
they run into Kananga's underground base, which is very
Yeah, at
cool.
the same time as they blow up a lot of they bomb a lot of the poppy fields because that's what I realized.
Yeah, but later.
Yeah, I know, just Core. No, they by the time he's seen Kananga, they've already done that because like Quarrel Junior like sets up loads of charges and then they go off in the middle of the fight.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Which is why
Surprising
Quarrel at the
Kananga's not
end.
more angry about that then when.
No, but this is the thing. He's like, I like this though because he's still cool, as a cucumber. He's like, poppy's a very resistant plant. He's probably got like stuff all over the island. They can't have gotten like
Yeah. Fair play.
I
Then.
think he's a bit drunk in this scene as well because I've heard some people say that he's a bit tipsy in this scene because he's like in a really like he's always a bit like I don't know, he's a bit like joyful considering everything that's happened, like and yeah, he's just hanging out in his villain lair, which is it's pretty cool actually. It's like nifty little. It's got a chilling section. It's got a section for like a sharks in case you need to feed anybody. I feel really bad for like Whisper and all this as well because like he's like. I don't know. You just get the like. Kananga just bullies him. He just like makes him.
Oh yeah, but it's really funny, man. It's not like I mean, it does humiliate him, but you can tell they're probably like they're kind of mates. It's not like what's his name in Thunderball?
Vargas.
Yeah, Vargas
I was
and
thinking
Largo,
of that. I
man.
was just like, yeah, this is Vargas 2.0. But like, yeah.
No,
it's not
Whisper's like he's pretty cool with it, man. He doesn't, it's like he's alright.
Yeah. He's like, you never listen to me, man. It's like, yeah, because I can never fucking hear you, mate. Like,
yeah, for real.
Yeah.
But I reckon Whisper gets some bitches, He's not like Vargas, man. Like
yeah, they never say
Whisper gets his hose, man. He's alright.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we never know what went on that sofa, so
Exactly,
Anyway,
exactly.
The other thing as well is like a really random comment about this lair. For some reason, I just think this like of all the previous lairs would just work as a Lego set. It feels like how it's designed,
Yeah, probably would.
You can lure him in with you lure him down to the sharks. Anyway.
Yeah,
I do
you've got
like
obviously. Sorry.
It's cool little monorail as well.
Yeah, exactly. Just like Tanaka, and Blofeld, but
they serve champagne on it.
Yeah, and so there is this whole thing with the air pistol, compressed air, which is a bit like okay, it's funny for that gimmick that he shoots the sofa which Whispers on, but other than that, it's like doesn't lead to anything particularly good.
Yeah.
You have
Do you know
these
that's
like
really what they used to kill sharks on?
Oh, that's real. Oh, okay.
No, you don't. You don't use that to kill sharks generally, and you don't to get sharks away because you're not supposed to kill them. You're supposed to use electro pulse magnetic thing to try and deter them.
So what's the point of this compressed air gun then?
Is it just like a fancy gadget they made up?
Why has he brought it with him?
It is a bit ostensibly it's to like keep sharks away, but I think having like a weird electromagnetic thing would have
too much exposition.
Yeah,
but I
and
just
it
don't
wouldn't
understand
have, it
why
wouldn't
this
have made
gadget is there in the
sense.
first place.
It wouldn't have made. It's there for the silly exposition, so they
I
can
think
get
I think it also
a really
it would be it sounds
ridiculous.
believable enough. I think to kill a shark because obviously you can't
Like,
just shoot it with a gun. You have to use this anyway. I
anyway,
can imagine that would probably work on a shark. But
well, anyway, Bond gets
Like,
cut.
they do have
Uh,
like shark guns, but they don't. I don't think they work like that. Like, they just inflate them with air because that would be pretty impractical.
yeah, because then they could just open their mouths.
Yeah, so
And
Bond
they have
gets
gills as well. So
Bond gets cut, load into the thing, into the shark tank with Solitaire. Who's obviously just looking on the whole time. And yeah, Bond escapes with his Rolex watch, with like the
Yeah.
buzzsaw on it, which is like the coolest thing ever, man. He also magnetizes the. This is where
Yeah,
the magnet gets a bit silly because he would like pull half the room with him, man, not just
Yeah,
like this
exactly.
specific item.
He like
I mean,
pulls
for starters, the thing he's actually tied to is like completely metal frame, so But anyway, so he gets the compressed air bullet, cuts himself free. He kicks Whisper into like this big container.
Yeah, but his
Um,
last words, "Look out!"
Yeah, and he has a fight with Kananga, which is a bit of a strange fight. I think it's fair to say, not the first one in this film, but like
it's
the way
really
Kananga's like, it's
heavily.
very theatrical with the knife, like I don't
It's
know.
very like choreo. I think that bit, like I saw someone explain, and it makes sense. Maybe Baron Samedi like taught him those techniques because like he's like trying to make himself look bigger or whatever to like intimidate James Bond, but it just isn't working. And then like he's doing these weird things with his hands. Like you can imagine that. You
Yeah,
can
but it's
imagine
like
that
he's trying to do a
Samedi
lot of
taught
fake
him.
outs as well.
Like Samedi's doing this to like I don't know. That was like one of Samedi's tactics or whatever. And then I don't know. It could. I don't know. It works for me, but like what doesn't work for me is when he like fails at it because the fight afterwards when they're like kind of wrestling just looks so like awkwardly choreographed and it's just like
Yeah,
not awkwardly but it's just so obvious like.
Well, we know how underwater fights have gone in this series so far. So
Yeah, but even before they fall in the water, it's like, oh, bam, bam, knee you in the elbow.
yeah,
You
I
drop the
agree.
knife.
It's
And then
it's not
like,
it's not a great fight, but
it's a shame really. There could have been a better fight, I think.
I wish they'd done Kananga justice with his death, like because his death is probably the worst death of any Bond villain. And he's such a cool character. He's such a cool villain. That's basically that's what sticks in people's memory. I think people go, oh yeah, well Kananga. Oh, well, I don't know. His death is fucking stupid, man. It's just embarrassing. Like, what? Who thought that was a good idea, man? And just a bonker guy at the end. Oh well, he always had an inflated opinion of himself. So
yeah, I mean it's an alright pun, but it's just for the actual the death itself. Yeah, because it just looks so dumb, and it wouldn't. Again, that probably wouldn't work on a person either.
Yep. And now you get a very cool Bond fourth act. This is one of my favorite Bond fourth acts, man, for sure. Like Teehee, when you see like the bags of like seeds or whatever there, and then you see his claw come out and cut the bag over, that is so cool. Even though it's like you can't imagine Teehee like curled
I
up
like
in a
as
bag
well.
in a sack.
He's
but,
like because his boss is gone. He's just doing this for free.
yeah. I was thinking like, what stakes he got in this left? He's like, nah, he's just like
Loyal.
I guess, yeah.
maybe he wants to like I don't know kidnap Solitaire or something. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure, but I don't know if,
if
he forced him
that
to
was the
pick
case, he would
something.
just take it out.
And I like that Roger Moore's teaching her like a normal card game as well while this is happening.
Yeah, so she just like destroys them at it, and he's just like, well.
Yeah. But yeah, so Roger Moore. So yeah, he has a fight with Bond on the train. Very cool train fight, I think. It's over relatively quickly though, because Bond like snips the cords of like the exposed arm, which is a bit. I don't know about that.
Well, it's a hydraulic arm, isn't it, or something along those lines? So.
All right. Well, either way, I mean, it's convenient how. I mean, I don't know if Bond would like really know that, but I guess he knows about butterflies and stuff. So yeah, and the fact he sort of lets him do it as well. But I don't know. Anyway, bottom line is, yeah, he gets like thrown, and like the sound effect of like the arm tearing off from the rest of his body is like pretty grim, man. Can you imagine that?
Yeah,
that would be painful. So okay, since we're just briefly on the subject, like how does that arm work then? Like how is it attached to his body?
Well, it
Is
looks
that
like
I
there's
always
like
thought it was some kind of like sci-fi kind of technology where it's like
I
linked up.
don't think they like surgically attached it to him. I think there's just something which rests on his shoulder that like kind of just tucks under his suit that you can move around with.
How does he control it then?
Good question.
That's it. That's why I think it's a bit of like sci-fi sort of not a cyborg, but kind of something.
Yeah, I really wouldn't know actually.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think it's one of those you just. But I think it's a bit of a sci-fi.
Well, I've
thing.
never thought about it until now, so
Really, I thought that always fascinated me from the first time I saw this character. I'm like, oh yeah, I wonder how he controls his arm. But that's
Well,
yeah.
from he must have had for me, it's he probably had the surgery for the thing to go into him, like because that's the only way you could potentially connect it with his nerves and try and get it to work
Yeah.
like that. But I don't know. That just makes the whole thing like it just getting ripped out like all that worse. Like
That's what I mean. Exactly. That's why it's like always
that's the
painful.
thing. There's
for
no
me to
blood
look at.
left on it. I mean, obviously because it's a PG film, but still, like.
Nah. But it's dark and everything is quick. Like, but yeah. Anyway, that's basically the end of the film. Oh yeah, we do get Baron Samedi on the front of the train as well, which is like really
Yeah,
cool
exactly.
and weird, but cool. Of all the Bond films we've got, this is the one I'm most interested to see the rankings actually. So like how we get along with this. First and
Because of watching
foremost,
more.
we have to rank a new Bond. Number 1, Sean Connery. Number 2, George Lazenby. Do you want to rank Roger Moore now, if we all have formed opinions, or should we wait until A View to a Kill?
I think we can rank him now, and then by the end of
We
the
can
music,
adjust
we'll
it as
see
we
if
go
can
along.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a cool idea. In that case, I think he goes third.
Really, you think he's below George Lazenby?
For this film versus On Her Majesty's Secret Service, yeah.
Yeah, probably because the script doesn't fit him so well. It's not really something of his own fault, but if I'm watching this, I really do felt at many times like, yeah, he doesn't like naturally fit like.
Like,
Well,
put yourself in 1973. You've just seen this film, and all you've got to measure it against is the previous ones. You're saying, no, George Lazenby was far better than this guy, man.
well, not far better, but still,
I think so.
It's not that he is because I don't want to like rag on like Roger Moore because he's good in this film.
No, nor
But
do
it's
I.
just
I'm not.
script
Like I said, Roger
fails him
Moore.
at certain points.
I would put him first at the end of a fully formed ranking. But just based on this film alone, I think he would go third. At the moment, that's all.
Okay, so this isn't a controversial thing between all three of us, I see. So I guess we're going to go for that for now.
Yeah, and obviously, as his character evolves, then we'll get to move him up.
Hmm.
Bond girl, number 1, Tracy. Number 2, Domino. Number 3, Honey Rider. Number 4, Tatiana. Number 5, Aki / the wife. Number 6, Pussy Galore. Number 7, Tiffany Case. Where are we putting Solitaire?
I think Solitaire can go around Aki's level, to be honest. I do like I do like her a lot, and she she has some. I think she's a bit like it was her first film, so
I'd kind of put her below Tiffany Case, if I'm being honest.
I would as
really.
well. Yeah.
But
Like,
I put her
why?
right.
even if,
She's at least she brings something new to the table. Like she brings like a different dynamic, I guess you could say, to what Bond girl does in these films,
mean,
and like, and then she like
But that's
does.
literally it. All she does is read cards. That's not very like cool or interesting. I mean,
And she
Tiffany
just
Case has
takes
a
the
lot
whole
more to do
up.
than her, let alone Pussy Galore. She doesn't
Yeah, but
influence
she
the
doesn't
plot at
deliver
all
on that.
either. She
She
doesn't
has
influence the plot either.
Solitaire
at all.
has like she does kind of, because that's the whole reason James Bond goes back to San Monique to get her.
But that's the only reason for she exists solely so that he can have an action sequence on the island. So
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's what generally these end up kind of being as well. That happens with Domino, and you ranked her really high. You ranked her first at one point, so like I don't think that's really fair criticism. Like
yeah, but that's only
Yeah, but
because that was
Domino
like
has a lot. Domino literally kills Largo.
exactly.
Like she actually does something. What does Solitaire actually do apart from
yeah, because
read
she had personal stakes in it, and Solitaire
Exactly.
kind of
Solitaire's got
yeah
nothing, and she's not an
yeah because
interesting.
because the film didn't have enough time to write something in for her, like her having
Okay, but that's
No, but
not
that's
like.
still at the end of the day. It's like with like Diamonds Are Forever. The original script was like a revenge film. Just because of that, I'm not going to say it's good.
So yeah, I think 8th for now. There are worse Bond girls than Solitaire, but for now, probably the weakest one we've had so far for me.
Hmm.
So The villain now. This will be interesting. Number 1, Blofeld, Donald Pleasance. Number 2, Goldfinger, which I still think is wrong. Number 3, Blofeld, Telly Savalas. Number 4, Dr. No. Number 5, Rosa Klebb. Number 6, Largo. Number 7, Blofeld, Charles Gray. Where are we going to put Dr. Kananga?
I'd venture to put him above Dr. No, even.
I think he goes below Dr. No.
For what reason?
Because he's really good, but I think Dr. No is better because he is the titular character, so much of the film basically hangs off him, and like the reveal of him is basically the thing that the film builds up to at the end. I don't think like Kananga's really, really good, but I still think not as much hangs on him that he has to deliver in terms of what the film.
He has two villains at once.
He's like no, Mr. Big is just like, I don't know, he's very ancillary to me.
Actually.
He's like he's in 2 scenes with James Bond, like, and he's not that, he's pretty generic, if you know what I mean. Like
But that's the whole point. That's like the whole elaborate scheme from Kananga to have this like extra guy there who's just like an enforcer, basically, like a mafia guy. Well, and then Dr. Kananga gets to have a clean rep and doesn't get his hands dirty. But he's like the same guy. And what I like, I mean, I know what you're saying about Dr. No. The whole plot revolves around him, but I think that almost works against him in this context because if we're talking about their scheme and their plot, Dr. Kananga has a much more realistic and interesting like plot, I think, and he has a grip on like New Orleans and New York and this island.
But you have to remember the plot.
I'd almost be tempted to put him above Telly Savalas Blofeld, but I think 4th is the perfect place for him.
No, the plot is like, the thing is, the plot is a bit like Goldfinger, but it's like just done slightly differently. Like he's just trying to increase the value of his drugs. But the thing with Dr. No's plot, I mean, it had much more budget constraints, but still it managed to be very still manages to be like very relevant to the times with like the rocket race going on and everything, and and I think it fits.
Well, Henry gets casting vote then. We're above or below.
It's actually quite close because Dr. No I still think is a very good villain. Like there's no like imaginary dotted line below Kananga.
Fine, Dr. Kananga 4 and thingy.
But I think the real difference, the thing that makes a difference, is the fact that Dr. No doesn't have much screen time, which I wish he had more of, but you just barely see him, and his.
Yeah, I think if you see Dr. No more, but he is in like 15 minutes of the film, if that.
Which is a shame, to be fair, because he was very.
And they both have quite shit deaths as well.
Blofeld's From You Only Live Twice is in only like 10 minutes of it, so like you can't really
He's not
throw that against.
He appears an hour in the film.
Yeah, but like I've literally seen a clip on YouTube. It's like You Only Live Twice or Blofeld parts, and it's literally 10 minutes long. So like you can't really throw that against Dr. No as a criticism, especially like.
This ranking of the segment might go on longer than his screen time, man. I mean, I think are we putting him 4th or 5th then?
4th.
4th, okay. Kananga. I think that's fair, man. Yeah,
if you're gonna have these characters so high, then I don't understand why your opinion of this film is lower than mine. Doesn't add up.
We're gonna rank them. We'll see. Henchmen. So the henchmen in this film, we have like an entourage basically. We have Teehee, Whisper, and Adam. You said his name was?
His name was probably Adam, I think, from what I remember.
It is Adam.
So we have number 1, Odd Job, number 2, Red Grant, number 3, Bunce, number 4, Winton Kid, number 5, Fiona, number 6, Hans. Where we put in T.E. and the boys.
This entourage would go above Winton Kid, I think, just below Bunt.
I think they're above Bunt. They bring so many things to like the table, like all these different like aspects. Like Teehee's good. He has a little mechanical arm thing, and it is a good thing when he like breaks the gun and like I don't know, it just feels like Irma Bunt is just kind of running things a bit with like these Angels of Death.
Should we put him above Bunt then, just the gun?
I know, but the thing is with Bunt as well, like she as like a solo henchman, she puts like the fear of God into like everyone at the clinic, you know. Like,
but does Baron Samedi not do
the music when he bends the gun, man?
Well? Yeah.
What about the cool music, Henry? What about the cool music, man?
All right,
boom! Puts it in his hand and laughs and walks off, man.
Yeah, all right. For that introduction, fair enough.
All right. Okay, so then we have number 1 Odd Job, number 2 Red Grant, number 3 Teehee and Co. And yeah, because you've also got like the guy who takes out Billy Bob and stuff. And I think it's a cool entourage. I mean,
I'd like to also
Bunce is like a
shout.
more quality like actress and like fleshed out character. But I think that's more encompassed in like the film's overall ranking, which is first.
I'd also like to shout out Tiki's like red suit drip that he wears.
His red blazer, man, it's so cool.
Yeah.
And his fourth act is, I mean, Bunce is devastating, but T's fourth act is cool.
Yeah.
Car/vehicle. I don't really think we got anything.
A double-decker bus.
The bus,
yeah.
like. M is still
you might as well
Bernard Lee, number
rename
1.
Aston Martin rankings, plus
Yeah.
glider.
Q's not in this. Moneypenny's still number 1, Lois Maxwell. Okay, the Ally/Felix Leiter. We have number 1, Draco and Campbell. Number 2, Tiger Tanaka. Number 3, Quarrel and Leiter. Which we basically have remixed here. We have Quarrel Jr. and Leiter this time, and Strutter. Number 4, Karen Bay. Number 5, Leiter and Goldfinger. Number 6, Leiter and Thunderbolt. Number 7, Leiter and Diamonds Are Forever. So where are we putting Quarrel Jr. and Leiter?
Above Quarrel and Leiter from Doctor No, I think.
He's supposed to be the main ally, and Quarrel is like supposed
So Tom,
to be.
you want to put Quarrel above Quarrel Jr.?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I
don't
think I
see
agree
how
with
that-
that.
But with this Leiter as well, I'm thinking Quarrel is obviously great, but his Felix Leiter sucks.
I agree,
but
but
this-
I think
Quarrel Jr. is good.
Quarrel single-handedly outweighs Leiter. I mean, who gives a fuck about
All
Leiter,
I'm
really, let's
saying,
be
all I'm
honest.
saying, I really like this Leiter's like kind of like he has a lot of comedic bits where it's like he has to deal with like clean up
Yeah,
after like
that's true.
destruction. Or as
But I
as
think I'm going to
J.W.
side with
Pepper.
Tom here. I think Quarrel Jr. It goes 4th.
My hand. Do we count?
Below the OG?
Do we
the
count
OG
J.W. Pepper as an ally?
No, he's not an ally. He's actually against Bond in this one. He's
I
a villain.
know.
He's a henchman, if anything.
Count him as a villain.
So okay,
Yeah,
Quarrel
but
Jr.,
people-
Leiter, and Strutter going at 4th.
Hmm.
Gadget. Number 1, attaché case. Number 2, cigarette. Number 3, odd jobs hat. Number 4, rebreather. Number 5, Wolf PPK. Number 6, mousetrap. Where
think this-
were we ranking the Rolex?
Roger Moore, he gets some good gadgets like throughout his 10 years.
He gets the best gadgets, I think.
I would wager to put this either first or second.
I think
Me
the Rolex
too.
goes first. Yeah. What do you
Yeah,
think, Tom?
okay. Well, it's a gadget. It's like a little thing. It's not like a big suitcase you have to take.
Yeah,
with
true.
him.
This is the attached case is cheating a little bit. So I would put
Yeah,
this first.
this is like the gadget
DB5
that's
is
like.
my gadget. Yeah, my house
Okay.
is my gadget.
It doesn't get a bit
The
like over the
Rolex from
top,
Live and Let Die goes first, then above the attaché case. Now,
Gets a
this
bit,
is an
like,
interesting one.
heavy
the
with
theme
gadgets
song.
later.
The theme song. Number 1, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Number 2, the James Bond theme. Number 3, Goldfinger. Number 4, You Only Live Twice. Number 5, Thunderball. Number 6, Diamonds Are Forever. Number 7, From Russia with Love. Where are we putting Live and Let Die, performed by Paul McCartney and the Wings?
Above Goldfinger, I'd say.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that.
Tom?
Goes third. Tom?
Do you think it belongs above the Bond theme?
Where would you put it?
I mean, I'd have it completely different but I guess
Oh, yeah.
I'll just go with the flow.
No. But
Yeah.
where would you put it? Like, because I want to hear like a little case for it as well. Because
But Tom would have arranged
Uh,
the first 3 differently anyway, so it's, yeah. I think the problem with Live and Let Die theme though, it's
There is no
it's-
problem with it really. in my
There is
opinion.
in my book. I just don't like it in songs. It happens all the time in loads of songs where it like changes halfway through, like the beat and the tempo,
yeah,
and
that bit.
that annoys me
That bit
Um,
does.
because
Yeah,
the high bit is like da-na-na. It's like, yeah, this is great, and then it's like slows down, and I don't like it when songs do
You
that.
used to say live and let live.
Yeah, I mean it's still good, but I just didn't need them in the same.
Yeah, there's a slowdown
Track.
in the middle. I forgot about that, but
Yeah.
it's a
Okay,
shame.
the opening sequence. Goldfinger, number 1, 2, On the Rescue Secret Service. Number 3, From Russia with Love. Number 4, The Only Live Twice Spaceship. Number 5, Thunderball, like the funeral. And number 6, Diamonds Are Forever. Now, Roger Moore, I've always believed, has the best openings, but this is not the case because he's not even in it. So I think maybe by default it goes 7th.
I would have said it goes below You Only Live Twice, maybe.
Oh, over the Oh yeah, the Thunderbolt funeral.
Thunderbolt
Shit.
once.
Yeah. Well, you got the jetpack and the. This is just
I
weird and
think it-
confusing.
I think it does get like.
Yeah,
I think
actually,
it
probably
does
below
go
Thunderbolt one.
Yeah.
I mean,
At
at
least
least Bond's in it, you know.
Yeah. and
Although
they have
now I'm
some
looking
cool-
at Diamonds Are Forever, like Charles Gray. I wonder if he like takes it into negative sort of thing, like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What are you on about?
maybe this
It's
goes.
the best opening ever.
This goes
The
above Diamonds Are Forever.
anticipated below film.
Yeah, fuck Diamonds Are Forever, man. Okay, Live and Let Die. All right, Sigma moment. Number 1, Goldfinger, I Own the Club. Number 2, Red Grant. Number 3, Blofeld, Extortion's My Business. Number 4, Dr. No, $1 million. Number 5, Tracy, I'm Already a Countess. Number 6, Blofeld, Prepare My Battle Submarine, having told someone to stick to his post. Number 7, David Niven. And number 8, for King and Country. So, what moment do we have nominated here, and where are we putting it?
This is tough for me because I kind of the one that you used as your opening line I really like in the way that he just shuts him down immediately, like names is for tombstones, you know.
Sorry about that.
Will be.
Is it Sigma?
I don't
Not
really feel there's much
really.
like many Sigma lines throughout this film. That's the problem.
What do you think,
overall
Tom?
like that's just display. There will probably be more of an alpha.
The thing
line
is, if we
really.
do select it, it won't go that high. That's the only criticism. But I agree, there isn't much Sigma content in this film. What do you think, Tom?
I don't think it's very Sigma. I
Maybe
think
Roger Moore's drip, man, the assassin drip. That's like quite.
you
Sigma.
can't. You need to have a moment, not
Yeah.
like a look or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Well, like
Sigmas are often,
Bateman.
silent, so quiet. So maybe Whispers are Sigma male,
um,
Whispers is
Kananga's
only
sure.
really-
Kananga's
Whisper doesn't.
mm,
Whisper makes it
okay.
out alive, might I add, as well. He just has to get out of that, little rocket thing that he's stuck in.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's why I really felt bad for him because he had like such a.
Yeah, no one's gonna hear him.
ignominious-
Man, he's
Either.
fine.
He's gonna.
No,
he's
the thing
gonna
about it, no
like
one can hear him
starve to
inside
death
it.
in there, man.
Nah, he'll get out. He's fine. But anyway, so
The
all
right
right, let's
call,
go
like,
names
right.
of tombstones just so we can say it again in every episode following this.
Yeah.
And I think it would therefore go maybe below David Niven.
I think it
Yeah.
goes bottom because it's not really Sigma at all. It's just like more alpha.
It's more of an alpha, thing.
Yeah,
Maybe
but
this
King
is-
and Countries as well.
King of Country is a good Sigma line. Like he just did it.
didn't
He
want
just
to-
did it for like all intents and purposes.
No, but that to
nothing
be fair,
else.
like, I'm not gonna lie though, like that line is also a massive cope as well because like he just got found out.
True. Yeah. I think it goes 8th.
Yeah.
Below David Niven, above King and Country. Names are for
I don't agree with
names
that.
is for tombstones, baby.
Or maybe he does say names are for tombstones. I can't remember too well. But
No, he says is. Yeah, names is for tombstones,
names
baby.
tombstone, baby.
Now,
I
this is
love
going to
it.
be very interesting. Where are we going to rank the film? The current rankings: number 1, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Number 2, Goldfinger. Number 3, You Only Live Twice. Number 4, Doctor No. Number 5, From Russia with Love. Number 6, Thunderball. Number 7, Diamonds Are Forever. And number 8, Casino Royale. Where are we going to rank Live and Let Die?
4th, maybe.
I think 4th as well.
Tom?
Above what?
Above Doctor No and below You Only Live Twice.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Yep. Okay. Well, that was a lot quicker than I thought it'd be.
Very simple.
Good. Well, that was unanimous then. So our current rankings now: number 1, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Number 2, Goldfinger. Number 3, You Only Live Twice. Number 4, Live and Let Die. Number 5, Doctor No. So that's Live and Let Die. That's the beginning of our Roger Moore series. So we'll be back next week with The Man with the Golden Gun. Should be a good one. So until then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.